Hello everyone, welcome to What If Issei was crowned as the Harem King of DxD movie. Before we start, please go support AdamPendragon for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made, there will be some mistaken character's gender, but of course Issei is a male. Chapter 1. The Beginning of Misfortune. Narrates. My name is Hyoudou Issei, I am a normal high school student who has a dream to be the Harem King. Although the normal thing isn't entirely true, I'm actually a demon, all thanks to being killed by my first girlfriend. I thought my life had come to an end. But thanks to that incident I was reincarnated as a devil and became part of the nobility of my beautiful crimson-haired princess, Rias Gremory. Together with my friends and with the legendary Red Dragon Emperor within me, I became the mighty Sekiryuutei, and from there my new life began. I lived many adventures facing formidable enemies. I fought against fallen angels, high-class demons, descendants of mass, heroes, vampires, evil dragons and gods. But although my adventures were very exciting, there were moments that marked my life. One of them was the war against the Clippeth faction, an organization led by Rias and Lucifer, the descendant of the original Lucifer and Vali's grandfather. Their goal was to unleash the dangerous beast of the apocalypse, 666, or better known as Trihexa. A huge chimera composed of different animals and 7 heads. Fortunately, we managed to seal the beast in an isolation field, however, to ensure that the beast would remain within the barrier, a great sacrifice had to be made. The leaders of the factions and mythologies decided to seal themselves within the barrier field along with the Trihexa to eternally fight against it. Of the mythological leaders that were sealed, the most important that I can mention are Zu-sama, Ra-sama and Old Odin-sama. Maybe we didn't interact much, but I thank you because thanks to you I met Raswas. I'm going to miss that old pervert. On the biblical faction side, Michael Sama was the only one who was sealed with the beast too. I'm going to miss him. Thanks to him I obtained Ascalon, he allowed Asia and Zenobia to pray, and he fulfilled Irina's dream of becoming an angel. In addition, Irina promised to become an archangel for Michael Sama, so again thank you very much for everything Michael Sama. On Grigori's part, the only one who was sealed inside was Azazel-sensei, the person who thanks to him, I was able to advance more as a demon, and with his help I became stronger, although he was irresponsible, a pervert and an idiot for me, he has been the best person I have ever known, like a second father to me. Like a true father to Vali, perhaps you will never see him, but Vali was depressed by your loss, I imagine that if you had seen him you would surely be laughing as always. Baka-sensei, if you were going to seal yourself at least wait for your student to rub it in your face that he became the king of the harem, but even if you're gone, your memories will always be with me. Thank you for everything, Azazel-sensei, and I hope you're proud of your troublesome students. On the side of the 4 great Satan's demons, 3 of them were sealed in the barrier, being Falbium Asmodeus, Seraphol Leviathan and Sirzechs Lucifer. But, before sealing it, Sirzechs pushed Seraphol out of the barrier circle, as I heard he didn't want Seraphol to get lost, as her little sister was growing up without her, saying that his path as Oni-sama was over, but Seraphol's could still continue. These words saddened Seraphol, who tried to reach the barrier before it disappeared, however she only heard Sirzechs asking her to take care of Sona and Rias before he disappeared with the rest of the leaders. Speaking of Sirzechs, I think he is the person I owe the most to in my life. Thanks to him I managed to save Rias from her engagement with Razor. Maybe I never knew why he had so much faith in me, but I am very grateful for the trust he had in me from the beginning. I remember how he asked me to call him Nai-sama, but I was somewhat embarrassed to say it, although now I would have loved to say it just once before it was. His departure saddened many, especially his wife and Queen Grayfia Lucifuge, who did not find out about Sirzechs' sealing for a long time because he himself put a hypnotic spell on her so that she would not try to intervene. After we freed her from the spell, she collapsed in tears for the sacrifice that her beloved made for the supernatural world. The last wish that Sirzechs left me was to take care of Grayfia-san, and I do not intend to disappoint him. I will fulfill his request and protect Grayfia-san with my life. And although I would like to continue thanking you, there are not enough words for all the support you have given me, all I can say is. Thank you, Nai-san. After that event I finally became a high-class devil. I also have my own ability, and with the help of my trusty manager, and Bishop Ravel Phoenix prepares me for my next challenge, the Azazel Cup. However, we also face a new enemy, the Alliance of Hell, led by the god of the underworld from Greek mythology, Hades, whose goal was to eliminate the Longinus users, as well as the current mythological leaders, Ajuka-sama and Seraphol-san. And faced with this new threat, the DxD team managed to defeat it completely, putting an end to Hades' plans, and we finally achieved a period of peace. But even though we have achieved times of tranquility, that does not mean that future threats were not coming. Due to my last dream with the goddess of breasts, Chichigami-sama had warned me that the evil gods of her planet, the Eevees, are preparing to invade our world. Since that dream I haven't stopped thinking about the future threat of the EVs, but it's been 6 months since the Alliance of Hell incident and it seemed like things were calm for the moment. But a few weeks before I heard terrible news, Office had returned from the dimensional rift and notified us that old Great Red died. According to what Great Red told us, he had been decapitated, but he doesn't know who could have done it. I also didn't have an answer as to who could have done it, but I was sure of one thing. Whoever killed old Great Red was very strong. The old man's sudden departure saddened me. Perhaps I didn't know that old dragon very well, but it was thanks to him that I obtained a new body when I died from Samuel's poison. That said, if I ever find out who killed him, I'll make sure to avenge you, old Great Red. I owe you that favor for saving my life. But since that last news it seemed like we had entered peacetime again. And what has become of my life now? So, taking advantage of these calm times, I gathered my courage and proposed to the rest of the girls. They all accepted very excitedly. There were also new members at the Hyoudou residence who I also ended up falling in love with Ria's clear permission, and I ended up proposing to them. Well, some proposals were the other way around and some were proposed to me. I felt a little embarrassed, but I was very excited to accept their proposals. And thinking that no woman could enter my heart anymore, it turned out to be the opposite when I met my latest fiancée. Her name is Miyamoto Zeka. She is the descendant of the legendary Japanese swordsman Miyamoto Musashi and also studies at Kuoh Academy. I met her one day when I decided to visit the old occult club building, where I saw her standing in the same tree where she had a view of the window where Rias always watched the academy campus. At first glance I thought she was lost and decided to help her, but when she heard my voice, she became alert, as if she knew me from somewhere. After inviting her in, she was surprised that the Megami in reference to Rias is no longer at this academy, and now Asia is the new president of the occult club, as Zenobia is the new president of the student council. It turns out that Zeka-san had to leave Japan for matters abroad, but he did not neglect his studies and was now going to officially enter the academy. That said, Asia was the one who told him everything that had happened during the time Zeka was away from Japan, being surprised that I am the legendary Oppai dragon from that song. Where for the first time I am surprised that someone did not like the song since Zeka expressed hating said song like the Oppace. How dare you, Oppace are amazing, special, majestic and divine. If it weren't for Oppace I wouldn't be here. It was clear that our relationship was not the best, that is to say, I love and worship Oppai while she repudiates Oppai. To prove her wrong, I challenged her to a duel, where I was surprised by how skilled she is with the sword, apart from being the wielder of a sacred gear of almost Longinus category, Eden's Duel, a powerful sword that came out from her Oppace. I am very grateful for that sight. I was able to appreciate some beautiful Oppace of a samurai girl. Although her skills were formidable, she forgot that she was fighting against someone who created powerful perverted techniques, so I used Polingual on her, but it didn't have much effect because Zeka's Oppai didn't reveal any information to me. Surely his hatred towards the Oppace blocked his voice. Sadness, poor Oppace, that they were silenced is seriously very sad. Regarding our duel, which ended in a draw, I also didn't want to use my secret weapons against my opponent. I learned that thanks to Rias. In the end, it seems I've ended up pleasing Zeka, praising my fighting skills. But he still looks at me with disgust for being a perverted Oppai-loving dragon. Time passed and Zeka helped us on some missions like exterminating rogue demons, and our relationship remained that of friends who didn't like each other. But as I interacted more with her I realized that she was a girl who wanted to make friends, and that's why she wanted to become the strongest swordsman, but it had the opposite effect and pushed people away from her even more. In addition to hating her sacred gear, she is a crazy lover of Oppace like me, which developed Zeka's hatred towards Oppace. After hearing her story, I comforted her and told her that before becoming the Sekiryuutei, I was a pervert with a bad reputation at the academy and how I was killed by my first girlfriend. Until I met Rias and my life changed from that moment on. What I wanted to tell Zeka was that he shouldn't feel bad about his strength. I was sure he would find true friends with whom he would surely make good memories, and I couldn't help but confess that his Oppace are very beautiful. That last comment made Zeka chuckle, thanking me for my words. After telling me more, she said she had made a strange group of friends. Intrigued to learn more, we share our stories of the samurai girl who seeks friends and the heroic Oppai dragon of fiery truth. Time passed and after we had several outings as friends, I didn't realize that on one of those outings, Zeka confessed to having fallen in love with me and declared her feelings to me, and as a man I wasn't going to reject her, and I accepted them by taking her hand. Of course I had to talk to Rias and kneel down to ask for forgiveness for falling in love with another woman. To my surprise Rias wasn't angry, she already knew Zeka and assumed something like this was going to happen. With her charming smile Rias accepted Zeka, but she had to make it up to everyone and of course I will do it as her fiancé and make everyone happy. Finally, with Ria's permission, Zeka moved into the Hyoudou residence and reunited with many acquaintances, especially Zenobia, whom he immediately challenged to a duel. Days later, I proposed to Zeka, who, surprised by my declaration, gladly accepted. And now I find myself just 2 weeks away from my graduation, and even though the future looks uncertain, I will conquer it, not for nothing am I Oppi Dragon. End of Issei's narration. You take care of Kuoh. Academia Kuoh. In the huge space of the academy campus, Issei was lying on the grass next to his friends Mitsuda and Motohama looking at the sky. Mitsuda, oi Issei. Issei, hi. With boredom. Mitsuda, tell us the truth, have you already done it with any of your girlfriends? Issei, hey, why that question? Motohama, we're just 2 weeks away from graduating and we want to know if you're going to graduate as a virgin or not. Issei, that's none of your business, not as if you've already done it. It turns out that the duo of perverted friends of the brown-haired boy, already had a partner. In Mitsuda's case, he began dating the girl he had saved named Haze, and with Motohama, to the surprise of his 2 friends, the perverted girl from the academy, Kiryu, and he are dating. Mitsuda, well I want my relationship with Haze-chan to be slower, you know, we can't take those giant steps. Motohama, why yes what Mitsuda says is true, we can't go so fast with our partner's nervous smile. But given the nervous response of the boy with glasses, his 2 friends noticed that he was hiding something. Issei, hey, Motohama turning to look at his friend seriously. Mitsuda, are you and Kiryu turning to look at Motohama seriously? Motohama, ha. Alright. We did it. Blushing. Bad news had left his 2 friends in shock and they didn't know how to react. Mitsuda with frustration and Issei with surprise. Mitsuda, and no way, bastard. You betrayed us. Crying comically. Issei, sugoi, congratulations Motohama, you're all grown up now mocking smile. Motohama, hi, you know adjusting his glasses you should never have doubted. Mitsuda, but tell me, how was it? Was it good? Is it like we saw in the videos? Looking curiously at Motohama. Motohama, I'm not going to tell that, baka. Looking annoyed at his friend and then calming down I can only say, Kiryu is very perverted blushing. Issei, wait have they done this more than once? Motohama, it's not my fault. Kiryu has a high libido, she's even more perverted than me. We did it once in the gym locker, or rather, she forced me to do it they're trembling with fear how scary women nowadays are. Mitsuda, it's true that in these new times, women in love have become more perverted. I mean, where are those pure ladies? Right, Issei. Looking at the brunette. Issei, hi although I'm already used to it, especially when I'm assaulted by Zenobia or Kuroka, nervous smile. The friends continued talking about various topics, mostly about their partners, while they lay on the grass, looking at the bright sky. Mitsuda, hey, I don't know why, but I feel a déjà vu. Motohama, me too. Issei, now, why do you say that? Motohama, it's just that I feel like we've been in this situation before. Wait I remember now. We're lying on this field and then Issei said, I want to touch some oppi. Mitsuda, and then we realized that because of our attitude, we were never going to even touch one or be able to approach a girl. Motohama, that's true, but look at how our youth blossomed. Now the 3 of us have a girlfriend. Well, Issei, many girlfriends. Mitsuda, it's true, it seems that you will fulfill your dream of being the king of the harem Issei looking at Issei with a mocking smile. Issei, believe it or not, it was a long road to get there, but I'm just 1 step away smiling, which reminds me, I have a meeting with Ravel about the wedding and another meeting with Zeka's Abasan, that woman is really scary, looking at the sky. Mitsuda, hey, what do you think, should we take one last look at the Kendo Club girls for old time's sake? Smiling at his friends. Issei Motohama, paso. Mitsuda, they rejected him immediately. Surprised seeing his friends. Issei, I already stopped doing that and I don't want to have problems at home with the girls with a bored tone. Motohama, I also think that if Kiryu finds out, the punishment he'll give me tonight won't be pretty trembling a little in fear. Mitsuda, damn, what can I do? Stressing his neck but it was actually a joke. I no longer need to see foreign skin if I have my dear Haze-chan smiling. His 2 friends smiled back at the boy in response, the truth is that this trio of perverts had really changed for the better. Hey, 3 of you, what the hell are you doing? A shadow appeared in front of Issei who, as he lay down, saw in the shadow 2 enormous mountains blocking the sky. Issei, those 2 mountains look like a pair of oppes, what an incredible view, perverted smile. Hey Issei, could you stop looking at my breasts, my eyes are up here. The boy quickly moved his eyes towards the eyes of the voice that spoke to him, noticing the beautiful dark pink color of these. Issei, flapping several times to get up Zeka. That voice turned out to come from a beautiful young woman with long hair mixed between black and dark pink, having a voluptuous figure and wearing the female uniform of the academy, only adding a blue ribbon and a belt wrapped around her breasts. Immediately Mitsuda and Motohama also stood up, while Zeka continued to look at them seriously. Zeka, damn, you guys are going to graduate and all you do is think about breasts, what more perverted guys do I have? Looking a little annoyed at the group and then crossing her arms under her breasts, lifting them up. Mitsuda, why you're wrong Zeka-chan. Motohama, it's true, we only remember the old days, since soon we won't be coming back here. Zeka, is that true Issei? Raising her eyebrow looking suspiciously at Issei. Issei, hi, what they said but Zeka, what brings you here? Looking at the girl intrigued. Zeka, I was just walking around here to see the campus and when I saw you here I decided to say hello, turning my blushing gaze is that wrong? Issei, I'm not at all grateful that you came to say hello smiling. Those words from the brown-haired boy caused Zeka's cheeks to turn red and then he turned his gaze in another direction. Zeka, well I also stopped by to see if you weren't still talking about the Oppai. Issei, really? Nervous smile, I think he's starting to get Ravel's tsunderism. Zeka, well, I have to go. I'm late for practice, by the way, Issei. Issei, hi, what's going on? Looking curiously at Zeka. And without any warning, Zeka gave her fiancé a kiss on the cheek, which made him blush to the shock of his friends, and after that kissed the girl with a smile, left happily leaving Issei in shock. Motohama, seriously, Issei, with girls as cute as Zeka-chan, how are you still a virgin? Watching Zeka walk away. Mitsuda, well, you still have 2 weeks left, in that time you can still lose your virginity Issei, ha 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 hitting Issei's back. Both boys started laughing at the brown-haired boy, but the boy ignored them and just caressed his cheek where Zeka kissed him, expressing a smile on his face at the sweet gesture. Underworld. The underworld is the place where the demonic population and all the demonic clans registered to date live. Although as it was said it was the place where demons live, other races such as fallen angels and grim rapiers now live there. And despite many enemies attacking this place thanks to Team DxD and the 4 great Satans, the underworld and its inhabitants have remained safe thanks to its heroes. But although all this seems peaceful, in reality the political situation in the underworld is very tense. Before the underworld was governed by 2 systems of government, the first and strongest was the 4 great Satans, made up of the mass Lucifer, Leviathan, Asmodeus and Beelzebub. And the second system of government was the demonic council, elderly but wise demons who only interfere in minor matters, such as enforcing demonic laws and clan commitments. Both powers have always coexisted, but now the government of the 4 great Satans has diminished due to the loss of 2 of its members, and the most important of them, the Mao Lucifer. With only Ajuka Beelzebub and Seraphol Leviathan remaining as the only remaining mass who have had to rule the entire underworld, that said the demonic council gained more power and control in matters that only corresponded to the mass. This caused a difference of opinion among its inhabitants, some believing that the council should have more power in matters of the underworld, while others continue to trust the 2 remaining Mao until the new Mao Lucifer is elected. Which has led Ajuka and Seraphol to be very busy lately, trying to maintain the support of the people who believe in them. But unbeknownst to them, the Demon Council was plotting under the table plans to seize absolute control of the underworld. Headquarters of the Demonic Council. In a castle built in a Victorian architectural style, having several towers at different intervals with a huge tower on top of its roof, giving the appearance of a huge building. Inside the castle, in the meeting room, this is a very elegant classy space, with decorations such as several lamps around the room, providing little lighting. And in the center was located a huge round table with several seats where all the members of the Demonic Council were sitting. Councilman, it seems that we have all come to the same decision in this meeting looking seriously at his colleagues. Councilman 3, are we sure we're doing this? Maybe we're rushing things looking nervously at the rest of his colleagues. Councilman 2, nonsense, I'm sure they're thinking the same thing as us looking annoyed at his colleague. Councilman 5, but aren't we rushing things? We should wait a little longer. Councilman 6, no, we've already waited too long, we have to do it now before a new Mao Lucifer is chosen looking at an annoyed colleague. Councilman 4, and what about the project we're developing? We can use it in case things don't go well adjusting his lenses. Councilman 3, of course not. Banging on the table we said the project would be put on hold until we heard your response. Glancing angrily at the councilman who spoke. Councilman 7, then we should know your answer right away before we make that decision, don't you think? Closing his eyes. The rest of the councillors remained silent when asked by the last member, and then they all nodded in agreement. Councilman, it is decided, I will send the invitation for them to come. If everything goes well, this will benefit the underworld, and we will drag the brat of Astaroth and the girl of the Sitri to the ground, and then I will take absolute control of the underworld, as it should have been from the beginning, looking seriously at his companions. Some time later. Underworld. Gremory train station. At a train stop, a huge red train belonging to the Gremory family had stopped when its doors opened. Issei and Rias came out from inside. Issei, it's strange that the demonic council called us both and ride in the Gremory territory. Rias, it seems like they want to discuss something with us too, but it still seems strange to me, since they spoke with Otu-sama to have the meeting in private. Issei, Ravel also told me that it was suspicious when she read the invitation, but that I should still attend if the demon council calls us. Looking at Rias. Rias, well, I don't think we'll find out anything if we stay here. Starting to walk, stopping to turn around and see Issei with a smile. Shall we go, Ice? Extending her hand. Issei, hi, smiling, taking Ria's hand. The couple then left the station to begin their walk towards the Gremory mansion. Both walked for a few minutes until they reached their destination, whereupon stopping at the doors of the mansion they were greeted by Grayfia, who cordially greeted her little sister and brother, Issei, and Rias greeted her equally with a smile. As they walked down the hallway straight to the meeting room, several servants greeted the couple, although Issei was still embarrassed by being called Issei-sama, since he hasn't married Rias yet to be called that, but he knew well that in the future, he would have to get used to being called that. Which caused Rias to giggle at her fiancé's uncomfortable expressions. Issei also noticed Milika's absence. Rias told him that Milikas is currently studying to become a great demon in the future, which made the brown-haired boy happy since his father would surely be proud of him. They finally stopped at two enormous marble doors inlaid with gold, where two maids opened the door for the couple, allowing them to enter the meeting hall, where the demon council awaited them. Gremory Mansion meeting room. The couple entered a large space that looked worthy of high class, with elegant furniture and lamps bearing the Gremory family symbol. There was also a huge chandelier on the ceiling. Issei and Rias advanced to a huge rectangular table with several seats, where 7 of these were occupied by the demon council, and only 2 seats were empty. The couple then went to those 2 places, sitting down, having all the council members in front of them. Councilman, it's a pleasure to see you, heiress of the Gremory clan, Rias-sama Gremory, and the well-known hero of the underworld Sekiryuutei, Hyoudou Issei-sama. I'm glad you accepted our invitation. Looking seriously at Issei and Rias. Rias, it's a pleasure to see you wise men of the council too. I hope my Ice and I have done something serious to meet in my family's territory. Smiling. Councilman, not at all, Miss Gremory, you have not committed any crime that this council can remember. The reason why you have met here is that we want to discuss a matter in private with you and Issei-sama. That is why we asked Lord Gremory-sama to let us have this meeting in his territory, but we agreed on discretion so that no one divulges this conservation. Looking seriously at Rias. Rias, I understand, so if we've already clarified the location of this meeting, tell us, what topic do you want to talk to us about? Looking curiously at the councilman. Councilman, Vera, the main topic of this meeting is a proposal that this council has for Hyoudou Issei-sama. Looking at Issei. Issei, huh? Me. Pointing at himself. Councilman, that's right, young man, this council has thought about the future of the underworld. After we defeated the Infernal Alliance, we have thought about what direction the underworld should point in the future. Councilman 4, and we want both the hero of the underworld and his future wife to be the first to accept the proposal. Smiling at Issei. The couple was intrigued to know what that proposal was, and although they still had no idea what it could be about, if it was to help the underworld they were willing to collaborate, so the first to respond with a calm smile on her face was Rias. Rias, in my case, I have no problem accepting, but I want to know the term. Smiling. Councilman 4, impressive your quick decision, Rias-sama, as would be expected of a Gremory, and you Issei-sama. Looking curiously at Issei. Issei, well, I have no idea what your proposal is about, but if it's for the future of the entire underworld, count me in. Smiling and raising his thumb. Councilman, excellent, this council is happy to have your support, but before revealing our proposal, Issei-sama, let me ask you a simple question. Issei, a question? Okay, I have no problem. What's the question? Quiet smile. Councilman, if you had to choose a side, which one would you be on? Looking at Issei seriously. That question left both Issei and Rias puzzled, looking at each other, not knowing what the councilman was referring to. Issei, Edo, excuse me, but I don't understand what you mean by choosing a side. Looking at the councilman confused. Councilman 2, it's very simple, brat. If angels, fallen angels, demons, even gods and yokai were to split up again, which side would you choose? Looking at Issei. Issei, will they split up? Hey, what kind of questions are those? Looking seriously at the council. Rias, split up, opening her eyes in surprise. Wait a moment, maybe you? Looking at the council in surprise. Councilman, as Rias-sama must have guessed from the future of the underworld, this council has made a decision to break up the alliance of factions. Issei, what? Looking at the council angrily. Rias, have you lost your minds? This alliance has brought peace to a war that never ended. Making a decision like that is idiotic. Looking at the council, annoyed. Councilman 2, looking annoyed at Rias. Watch your language. Rias-sama is present in. Councilman, silence. The councilman who shouted at Rias clicked his teeth in annoyance, but at the first councilman's command he remained silent, expressing his frustration. Councilman, but it is true that we have decided to break the pact of the alliance of the factions, for the good of the underworld. Looking seriously at Issei and Rias. Issei, for the good of the underworld? What nonsense are you talking about? Why do you want to do this? Looking at the council, serious and annoyed. Councilman 6, why, brat? We demons are the most powerful race in existence, and we must teach the other races our superiority. Looking seriously at Issei. Councilman 4, besides, we were the ones who sealed 666 and defeated the Infernal Alliance, while the other factions were only supporting us. In a calm tone. Issei, don't talk nonsense. Leaders of other factions also sealed themselves with the Trahexa. If it hadn't been for their sacrifice, none of us would be here. Don't you dare offend them. Looking annoyed at the council. Counselor 6, please calm down. Issei-sama, keep your composure. Looking calmly at Issei. Although the wise demon's words tried to calm the brown-haired boy, he was not calming down at all. He just frowned, unable to believe what the council was saying. Issei, tch, besides, what do I have to do with all this? Looking annoyed at the council. Councilman 2, it has a lot to do with you. Issei-sama, he is currently one of the strongest existences in the world. Having him on our side guarantees that if we go to war, victory will be guaranteed. Looking calmly at Issei. Councilman 7, with your incredible power you will be able to overwhelm the other factions. No other faction would dare to attack us knowing that you will be on our side. Issei, what? Looking annoyed at the council. Rias, you just want to use ice as a weapon. Excuse my boldness, but I find it an insult to treat ice as an object. Looking annoyed at the councilor. Councilman, don't you think our enemies aren't having the same conversation? We just want to make sure we have Issei-sama's support before any other faction proposes he join their side. Looking seriously at Issei and Rias. Issei, this is crazy. No faction would ask me to join them, and I would never attack other factions, and I don't plan on joining you either. Looking annoyed at the council. Councilman 2, Issei-sama, should I remind you that it was us, the demons, who offered you a second chance to live? If it hadn't been for us, you would have died like any other human. Having said that, stop the nonsense and show your loyalty to us. Looking annoyed at Issei. The brunette clicked his tongue in annoyance, clenching his fists and looking indignantly at the council, wanting to lash out at them, but he was holding back. But then. Rias, stop talking nonsense. Ice couldn't hit demons. Shouting angrily at the council. Issei, Rias turning around surprised seeing Rias. Rias, I didn't reincarnate Ice to be the Sekiryuutei. I reincarnated him because of the incredible potential I saw in him. I never told him he had to serve the demons. He is free to make his own decisions and live as he wants, as his master not as his fiancé. I am happy with the great demon that Ice is now and with whom I am deeply in love. Turning to see Issei with a smile. Issei was amazed by Rias' words when defending him. There was no doubt that he fell in love with a great woman. Rias, and let me tell you something else, Ice is mine, he's a member of my family, he's my servant and my husband, and I won't let anyone else have him. Looking annoyed at the council. The brunette had been moved by Rias' words, which made him remember the times when Rias refused to share him, so he couldn't help but smile with nostalgia and gratitude at the same time. The council remained silent, but not at all happy with the Gremory's words. Until suddenly, applause was heard in the background, disconcerting the couple. Rias' surprising words worthy of someone from the Gremory family. Now an unknown voice in the room appeared. That voice was the one producing said applause and came out of the shadows, approaching those present to stand next to the council. The stranger was a young man with short blonde hair and brown eyes. He wore a suit consisting of red, blue, and gold colors and also a blue and gold cape. Rias, Eliseo Androfalfus. Surprised seeing the man. Alicia, it's a pleasure to see you again. Rias, and you too. Sekiryuutei Hyoudou Issei mischievous smile. Issei, in the presence of Eliseo, put on an expression of disgust at his presence because he had previously met this demon. Alicia Androfalfus is one of the heirs of the Androfalfus clan, an arrogant demon who has treated low-class demons as inferior. Even Razor himself said that his attitude reminded him of when he also acted like an idiot and felt ashamed when he acts like that in the past. However, although Alicia's life seemed to be perfect, there was something that bothered her, and that something was Issei. Ever since she found out about him, she has been envious of him, due to his enormous fame and popularity as a hero of the underworld, and in addition to being engaged to 4 demon clans, Gremory, Phoenix, Belphegor, Sitri and Astaroth, of whom 3 are crown princesses, and 1 is a Mao. He always cursed Issei for overshadowing him, saying that all that recognition, fame, women, everything that he thought Issei should have, he took it away from him. And in revenge he tried to take away one of his fiancées by trying to flirt with Ravel at her engagement party with Issei. The Phoenix girl felt annoyed by the blonde's attempts to flirt, so she rejected him flatly and sharply. Humiliated, Eliseo tried to force Ravel, but she slapped him in self-defense, and when the boy was about to hit her, Issei appeared out of nowhere, grabbing Eliseo's fist before it collided with Ravel's face, and with an enraged look twisted his hand, making him scream in pain in the middle of the party. The brown-haired boy warned him that if he tries to touch any of his fiancées again, let's just say that what he did to Diodora Astaroth will be nothing compared to what he will do to him, and from that moment on, Eliseo has had an intense hatred for Issei and his loved ones. But back to the present, Rias and Issei were still confused by Alicia's appearance in the room. Rias, I demand an explanation. Why is Alicia here at this meeting? Looking seriously at the demonic council. Councilman, the reason Alicia Sama is present at this meeting is that he agrees to break up the faction alliance in a calm tone. Alicia, indeed, the council only wants to look after the future of the underworld and its inhabitants, and it seems perfect to me, since it was time for us to separate ourselves from those disgusting inferior races, saying the last thing with disgust. Issei, Alicia, what the hell are you saying? Don't you know what the alliance has done for all the demons? Looking at Alicia in disbelief. Alicia, well, as far as I'm concerned, they haven't contributed anything to us. I even dare say that the disgusting angels stole our idea to reincarnate humans, and thus increase their population. Damn, I still don't understand why the idiot Sirzechs Lucifer decided to make that alliance with those inferior beings, with a tone of annoyance. Those words left Issei and Rias in shock. The brown-haired boy was angry that they said that about his brother-in-law, and on Ria's side, she couldn't hide her clear annoyance by frowning. Rias, how dare you say that about my Ani Sama? It's thanks to him that the underworld was able to achieve peace with angels and fallen angels. Looking annoyed at Alicia. Alicia, hey, why are you angry, Rias? I'm just telling the truth. I thought it was stupid that your Ani Sama, being the most powerful demon in the underworld, didn't annihilate those 2 factions and instead decided to play peace with them. What a useless demon. You should feel ashamed for having an Ani Sama as pathetic as him. Ha ha ha, mocking smile. By this point, Ria's patience had reached its limit. She clenched her fists. Every time she heard Alicia laugh at her brother, she wanted to hit the blonde to make him stop laughing. But what she didn't realize was that someone else had also reached the limits of her patience upon hearing them mock Sirzechs. Issei, take it back, whispering in a low voice. Eliseo, huh? Looking at Issei with a mocking expression. Issei. Take it back. Issei's loud scream echoed throughout the room and released a part of his aura that surprised the council and Alicia, while on Ria's side, she saw how her beloved exploded in fury. Issei, I won't let you insult Nai-sen's memory. He is the best man the underworld has ever known. He sacrificed his life so that useless people like you could stay alive, and you dare to insult him in front of his sister. And in his own house. I won't forgive you if you speak ill of Nai-sen again, I'll kill you. Exclaiming angrily to Eliseo. Eliseo, tch, don't get arrogant, Sekiryuutei. Do you think a perfect demon like me is going to accept insults from a wretch like you? Looking irritated at Issei, I'll teach you how to. Councilman, enough. The loud shout from the first councilman made Issei and Eliseo calm down, although it was clear that they were looking at each other with hatred. Councilman, we are not in this meeting to talk about the terrible decisions that Sirzechs made. This meeting is to ask you, Issei Sama, to join our side against the other factions. Looking seriously at Issei. Issei, and I already told you my answer. I refuse to join you to destroy the alliance of factions. Looking seriously at the council. Councilman 4, please think carefully, Issei Sama, you would get good benefits if you join us. Smiling at Issei. Issei, benefits? Looking doubtfully at the councilman who spoke to him. Rias, what kind of benefits are you talking about? Looking seriously at the councilman. Councilman 7, you will see if Issei Sama agrees to join, he will be given more territory than he already has in the underworld, and in the human world, the houses of Gremory, Phoenix, Sitri, Belphegor and Astaroth would gain more prestige and popularity, and would be known as the 5 most powerful clans in the underworld. He would be granted greater riches that would make him the richest being in the world. We would name him the new Mao Lucifer, and we would also give him more women for his harem, of course being managed by Rias Sama, and what does she say? Smiling maliciously at Issei. Faced with such a proposal, not only Issei, but Rias too felt angry at the offer. The council was literally indirectly bribing them to join their cause. Councilman, this council is also aware that apart from your commitments to the other reincarnated demon women, we know of your other commitments to other women from different factions, including the Queen of Hyoudou Issei, so we have decided that you may join the demons, but in exchange, you must accept this contract putting your hand in your sleeve looking for something. The wise demon then took out a sheet of paper from his toga and then placed it on the table, allowing Issei and Rias to read its contents. The first to read it was the Redeed, who was shocked by what she saw written. Rias, wait a minute. What do you mean, human women, by accepting this contract, must be reincarnated as demons? He's reincarnating them against their will. Facing the council. Councilman 2, please think about it Rias-sama, do you really think we would allow mere humans to bask in the glory of us demons? We would be a complete mockery to the other clans, and when they are reincarnated as demons they would be granted middle-class demon titles, instead of complaining, be grateful and show generosity looking at Rias with annoyance. The Redeed could only look with great anger at the councilman for offending her harem sisters like that. On Issei's part, he was also very upset by the offense towards Lefei, Lavinia, Suzaku and Zeka, but the worst had not happened since, while Rias faced the council, the brown-haired man now took the contract reading it carefully, until when he finished reading the last agreement, his gaze darkened. Issei, hey looking angrily at the council I need a damn explanation what does this mean? Showing the last contract agreement to the council. Councilman, as you can read there Issei-sama, women who do not belong to the demonic race once they become pregnant must donate their child to the demonic cause in a calm tone. Issei, what the hell are you talking about? Do you think I would accept you giving my children as bargaining chips? Exclaiming to the council. Eliseo, come on Sekiryuutei look on the bright side, those children would serve our cause more than if they were with their ugly mothers, just imagine your half-angel children would be used for scientific purposes, we could study them to cure our great weakness to the light and bless things besides, why do you get so upset over some brats? You would have many children you wouldn't mind losing 2 or 10 mocking smile. Issei, shut up frowning and clenching his fists, I won't allow you to talk about my offspring like that. Summoning the boosted gear. Dragon, boost. Everyone present, including Rias, was surprised by the boy's action, and then when they thought that Issei was going to attack the blonde, what the brown-haired boy did was hit the table so hard that he ended up destroying it completely, causing a huge disaster. That action scared some council members and left Alicia in shock, while Rias said nothing to stop her beloved, she herself could have done the same for all the anger she has been accumulating. For his part, Issei after destroying the table, boosted gear disappeared and looked seriously at the council. Issei, you wanted to know what my response is to your offer to join you, right? Well here it is, I reject joining you. I don't need more territories, nor riches, nor power. I am happy with what I myself achieved throughout my life, and I also don't need more women. I already have 23 fiancés, and I don't think my first wife will allow another one, unless she accepts it turning to smile at Rias. The Gremory in response looked at her fiancé, also giving her a sweet smile, then turned around and saw all the members of the council and Alicia. Rias, I think this concludes the meeting, let's leave and don't worry about the table. They'll come and clean the place later. Given the couple's decision, the council and Alicia were not at all happy with the couple. One could say that they were upset and outraged that they had rejected their offer. Councilman 2, damn brats. How dare you turn your backs on your own race? Looking annoyed at Issei and Rias. Alicia, TCH, don't you know what you're saying? How can you reject such a generous offer from the Demon Council? Frowning at Issei and Rias. But the first councilman rose from his seat and with an angry look, looked grimly at the couple who did not frighten them at all. Councilman, Hyoudou Issei, if you refuse to join the devils, your engagement with Rias Gremory will be cancelled. Exclaiming furiously to Issei and Rias. The couple was shocked by the words of the first councilman, not fully believing what he was saying. Issei, cancel our engagement looking at the councilman in disbelief. Rias, you can't do this. Ice and I made our engagement official, can't we? Councilman, of course we can, our honorable council has always been in charge of this matter, and if Issei-sama refuses to join us not only will his engagement be cancelled, but also his engagement with the Phoenix, Sitri, Belphegor and Astaroth clans, as well as his engagements with the others with the women who were reincarnated as demons, looking seriously at the couple. Issei and Rias were in shock, they didn't know what to say to the councilman's threat, it was no longer a simple proposal, now they would force Issei to join their side no matter what, and to the couple's shock, some council members like Eliseo smiled mockingly at the couple's reaction. Alicia, ha ha ha. That's what happens to you two for rejecting the council's offer. Come on Sekiryuutei accept it at once or don't you truly love Rias and those women, and would you abandon them? Ha ha ha. Seeing Issei with a mocking smile while he continued laughing. Rias, Ice turning around worriedly seeing her beloved. The boy frowned, clenching his fists, wondering what to do in the face of the councilman's threat. Well, he heard Eliseo's laughter in the background, he couldn't concentrate until a thought crossed his mind. Issei, what if I don't choose to join any side? Looking seriously at the council. Eliseo stopped laughing to look at the brown-haired man confused. Not only him, but the rest of the council members saw the Sekiryuutei's question strangely. Advice, what does Issei-sama mean? Seeing Issei intrigued. Issei, I will not join the demons, but I will not join any faction either. I will leave their territory and I will not interfere in their affairs. But those words, everyone was shocked, even Rias didn't believe the words her eyes was saying about leaving the factions. Councilman 3W, wait a minute, are you talking about self-imposed exile? Looking at Issei with concern. Issei, hi, I will give up my position as a high-class demon and become an independent demon, but in exchange I want my pieces to be free, that's the deal. Looking seriously at the council. Councilman 4, ungrateful brat, do you so unwilling to join us that you exile yourself? Looking at Issei with annoyance. The boy gave his answers by nodding his head, which angered some council members until the chief councilman spoke. Councilman, although your offer is tempting, unfortunately I regret to tell you that if you decide to take that option, your commitments to the demonic race will be cancelled as well. Looking seriously at the brown. At that response, some members of the council, like Alicia, smiled triumphantly, leaving Issei with no option to refuse to join them. The brunette, for his part, frowned angrily, having no other alternative until. Rias, then I'll go with him. Looking seriously at the council. Council members like Alicia now turned their gaze on the Gremory heiress, who looked at them with determination. Councilman 6, Rias-sama, what did you just say? Looking at Rias in astonishment. Rias, you heard me. I'm also abandoning the factions and going with my eyes. That way, our engagement won't be cancelled, right? Facing the council. Issei, Rias looking at the retreat impressed. Councilman 2, tch grinding teeth, spoiled brat, are you planning to turn your back on your own race? Rias, if this is going to be the future of the underworld, I'd rather be with my ice than be part of a group of arrogant people like you. With a serious tone. The brown-haired boy was impressed by the decision of his beloved retreat, smiling that he would never regret the woman he fell in love with. However, the council did not take the Gremory heiress's decision well at all. Councilman, Rias-sama, if you also refuse to join us, then this council will expel the Gremory clan from the 72 pillars and they will be degraded to low-class devils, seriously sentencing Rias. Upon hearing the news, Rias was petrified. She didn't want to leave Issei, but she didn't want to condemn her entire family like that either. This situation angered the brunette because of the injustice the council was committing. Issei, how dare they do this to Rias? The Gremory family hasn't done anything to them, they can't be involved in this. Angrily facing the council. Alicia, in fact, if they can, the council has the same authority as Amayu, so go ahead, Rias, choose. The man you love or your family? Smiling mockingly at Rias. Iridid frowned. She didn't know what to choose. She wanted to be with her beloved, but she didn't want her family to lose its status. She was left with no options, just like Issei, who couldn't think of anything else to do about the situation. It seemed like the council had them both eating out of the palm of their hand. They smiled triumphantly, thinking they had won. But then. I'm sorry for the interruption, but do you mind if I interfere? Everyone was surprised by the new voice that opened the door to enter the room. The owner of said voice was a middle-aged man, attractive in appearance, with long crimson hair tied in a loose ponytail with a black hairband, as well as a short red beard and blue eyes. That was the lord of the Gremory clan himself, Zeoticus Gremory. Rias, Otu-sama. Surprised seeing her father. Issei and the others present were also surprised to see that the leader of the Gremory clan had entered the scene. Councilman 2, Zeoticus-sama, what are you doing here? We told you this meeting was private. Zeoticus, I offer my apologies, esteemed council, but I was notified by the leader of my maids of the loud screams coming from this room, and I wanted to check if everything was okay, where I couldn't help but hear your conversation, and let me tell you that I find it an offense that you have overlooked my authority as leader of the Gremory clan in wanting to expel my family without my consent, don't you think? Smiling. Issei and Rias smiled, knowing that the one who alerted Zeoticus to come for their help was Grayfia. As always, she looked after her younger siblings. For their part, the council seemed alarmed by what the leader of the Gremory clan said, but they maintained their composure. Councilman, Vera Zeoticus-sama, we just want your daughter. Zeoticus, but don't worry, for this problem I have a solution that will make both parties satisfied. Smiling. The council and Alicia did not understand what Zeoticus was referring to, who for his part turned to see his daughter and future son-in-law approaching them still smiling, and then placed his right hand on Rias' shoulder. Zeoticus, Rias, my daughter, tell me something, are you willing to abandon everything, your family, your friends and your dreams for Issei-kun? Smiling at Rias. Rias, still confused by the strange solution her father was offering and now asking her that question, didn't understand at all what was happening, but without hesitation, she looked seriously at Zeoticus to answer. Rias, hi, I want to be with my eyes, for him I would follow him to the deepest part of hell, and I would never leave his side, even if I had to abandon everything to be by his side, I would do it to be with him for the man I love, saying the last thing with a smile. The Redeed's response left the brown-haired boy impressed, and on the other hand, Zeoticus did not remove his smiling expression after hearing Ria's words. Zeoticus, HMMP, very well, I like it, and you Issei-kun, looking at Issei with a smile, are you willing to protect and take care of Rias, even if she were not the Gremory heiress? Now Zeoticus asked a strange question to the brown-haired boy. Issei didn't understand anything about what was happening either, but he didn't hesitate to give an answer with a smiling expression. Issei, of course. I will protect Rias with my life. At that time I did not sacrifice my arm for Rias, the heiress of the Gremory clan, but for Rias Gremory, the woman who gave a second chance to live and for whom I am madly in love. No matter the obstacles, I will always go to save her, even if I have to give another part of my body. After all, I love Rias. Smiling. The boy's words touched Ria's heart, who blushed just like her hair, while Zeoticus couldn't help but laugh a little. Zeoticus, ha ha ha, I see, a very honest answer, I'm very glad to hear that. Smiling. The Redeed then released his hand from Ria's shoulder and moved away a little from his daughter, much to the confusion of the couple, until Zeoticus stared at Rias, still with his calm expression. Zeoticus, Rias Gremory, as current leader of the Gremory clan, expelled you from this family and removed you as the heir of the Gremory house. From today you will become an independent low-class devil, and your connections with us are formally broken. Smiling calmly. Zeoticus's sentence left those present in the room petrified. No one expected that the leader of the Gremory family himself would expel his own daughter, but although everyone remained in shock, Rias was the only one to react, slowly approaching her father, and then proceeded to give him a strong hug. Rias, thank you Otu-sama, thank you, shedding some tears. The Redeed smiled at his daughter's hug, caressing her head with his hand as if Rias were a little girl. Councilman 2, Zeoticus-sama. What the hell did you just do? Looking at Zeoticus in disbelief. Zeoticus, solve the problem now that my daughter is no longer part of the Gremory family, they can no longer cancel her engagement and she is free to go with the Sekiryuutei. Smiling. Councilman 6, but don't you know that I'm leaving the Gremory clan without an heir? Looking angrily at Zeoticus. Zeoticus, that's not true, from now on my grandson Milika's Gremory will be the new heir of the Gremory clan. See how I solved the problem? Smiling. The council did not take Zeoticus's decision well at all. Their chance of staying with Issei using his engagement to Rias had been completely destroyed. Zeoticus, and regarding my daughter's nobility, since she is now a low-class devil, her nobility is disintegrated and her pieces will become my wife's. It seems that the offer Issei-kun made to you still remains, right? Smiling calmly. Now if the council was left without any letter to threaten the brunette to join them, there were still the heiresses Astaroth and Belphegor, but they knew that they would also make the same decision as Rias, so without alternative and completely enraged, they had no choice but to take the offer that the brunette previously made. Councilman, TCH frowning, okay, we accept Issei-sama's offer. From this moment on all ties you have with the demonic faction are broken, your pieces will become free, you have 24 hours to leave the underworld, as well as the territories in the human world that are under the protection of the Gremory and Sitri clans, but I warn you, if you step on the territory of the demonic faction again, you will be declared criminals and enemies of the underworld. Sentencing Issei and Rias with hatred. The couple didn't object to the councilman's words. Rias broke away from her father's embrace to give him one last smile, and just like her father, she responded with one last smile. She then looked at Issei with the same smile. The boy nodded in agreement. The couple then stared at each other before holding hands and smiling at each other. They both walked to leave the room, but before they could leave, Eliseo, with an angry expression on his face, walked up to the couple, stopping them before they knocked on the door. Eliseo, they will regret having made that decision, especially you Sekiryuutei. This proves that you are a coward. With you gone, I will be the new hero of the underworld. In a very short time people will acclaim me, and everyone will forget the jester of the op-eye dragon. Mocking smile. Issei, hey Alicia, do you want to play the hero that badly? Do you want all the glory? Eliseo, huh? Seeing Issei confused. Issei, okay, I'll give it to you. Seeing Eliseo with a smile, I give up. That statement petrified Alicia, but caused Rias to giggle. The brunette then pushed the blonde away from the door and then opened it and left the room with his beloved Redeed. The council and Alicia were clearly enraged with the couple, while Zeoticus smiled, wishing his daughter and son-in-law a good future. For their part, Issei and Rias, as they left the Gremory mansion, did not know what the future would hold for them, but what they knew is that they had to tell the others about what just happened, hoping they were okay. But what the couple didn't know is that this was just the beginning of misfortune for the Sekiryuutei and his loved ones. Chapter 2. A Farewell and a New Beginning. Kuoh City. Hyoudou residence. In the main hall of the residence, a magic circle with a Gremory symbol appeared on the floor where Issei and Rias came out of it. After what happened at their meeting with the Demon Council, they now had 24 hours to leave Japan, which would mean leaving this house. But before taking action, the couple had to tell the other residents what had happened at the meeting. Rias had a sad expression on her face, not knowing how to tell them the news, especially that she no longer had the Gremory surname. For Issei's part, he was also sad, he didn't know how the rest of his loved ones would take the news and what decision he should make now. His mind kept wandering in answers, but none of them were correct. The Redi turned her gaze and saw the worried expression on her partner. Rias, Ice, are you okay? Issei, huh? Turning surprised seeing Rias. Hi, I was just thinking about how we are going to tell him, it's not where to start. Looking away, lowering his head a little. Rias, start from the beginning. Taking Issei by the hand. I will support you if necessary, for me it is also very difficult, but I am sure that everyone will support your decision. Smiling. The boy was briefly surprised by the Redi's words, but then put on a smiling expression and nodded. Issei, you're right, but I hope they take it well, thanks. Rias' small smile. Rias let go of Issei's hand, and both with calm expressions began to walk to head to the living room to call a meeting with all the residents of the Hyoudou house. Although they would first go find the girls, some of whom were surely in their rooms, others in the kitchen, and others in different areas of the residence. However, when the couple crossed paths with the living room, they got an unexpected surprise. In the living room, the rest of the chestnut harem were gathered, sitting on the huge sofa in the living room, or some on the small furniture that was there, but their expressions seemed to reflect sadness. All of them had melancholic faces or some a face of comfort watching Arena, and on the floor Office and Lilith were hugging Kuoh, who was sobbing a small cry, while the dragon goddesses comforted her. That scene left the couple surprised, but it also caused confusion about what had happened, and of course, concern quickly filled the brunette. Issei, girls, what's going on? Looking at the girls worried. Hearing the voice of her beloved, they all turned around in surprise seeing Issei standing there next to Rias, who also had a worried expression on her face about the situation that is occurring in the room. Asia, Issei-san. Rias One-sama. Running straight towards the couple. The ex-nun came running, hugging Issei tightly, surprising him with the blonde's unexpected hug, but he soon returned her hug. Issei, Asia, what's going on? Did something happen? Looking at Asia worried. The blonde then pulled away from the hug, wiping away some of the small tears that were on her face as she looked at the brunette sadly. Asia, Vera's Issei-san. Arena, no Asia, let me do it, I'm the one who should tell them. Arena's intervention left the brunette even more confused. What's happening? Did something happen in the sky? Why is Kuoh crying? Questions began to fill his mind without any answers until Rias spoke up. Rias, I think we should all sit down. We have a lot to talk about. A few minutes later, now all the inhabitants of the Hyoudou residence were sitting on furniture in the living room to start their meeting. The first to speak were Issei and Rias, telling what happened in their meeting with the Demon Council. How the council wanted to force Issei to join them to destroy the faction alliance, in addition to the agreement that the girls who were not from the demonic faction had to accept to belong to said race, from forcing them to reincarnate as demons to having to donate their future children to the demonic cause, threatening him that if he did not join they would cancel their engagement. Where in the end an agreement was reached with the council, but that involved a sacrifice. And that sacrifice, told now by Rias, was that she no longer has the Gremory surname. Her father expelled her from the clan with the sole objective that she could be free with her beloved Issei. Issei, and now we have 24 hours to leave Japan, because it is the territory of the Gremory clan, and since Rias is no longer part of the clan we are invading their territory, but I managed to make you remain as free pieces. Instead Rias' pieces now belong to Venelana-san. Also if we step on the underworld territory again, we will be considered criminals. Girls, please forgive me for making such a hasty decision. Lowering his head in apology. After the brown-haired boy finished his story, Rias just looked at her beloved sadly, knowing how difficult it was going to be to tell the others about the situation that occurred at the meeting. On the part of the rest of the brown-haired boy's harem, their reactions after hearing what happened were different. Some were astonished by what happened and put on a serious face. Roigun, I see that, I expected a lot from the council. After all they have wanted to have more authority in the underworld. Seriously. Rias, do you know anything about this, Roigun? Looking curiously at Roigun. Roigun, no, but it is the most logical move. The current state of the underworld is delicate. People have already begun to trust the council more than the mass, and without a Lucifer, it is possible that more people trust the council more and gain more authority. Some demonic clans began to ally with the council after the defeat of the aliens of hell. If Issei-kun had accepted the offer, being a very influential person in the underworld, it was certain that all the people would support the council, and the Four Satan system would be destroyed. Those old men are really terrible, making an annoyed face. Issei and Rias were impressed by Roigun's analysis. If they had accepted, then surely the Four Satan system would have disappeared, and the council would remain as the only political force in the underworld, remembering how the council already had the authority to expel clans, like when they threatened Rias to expel her clan if she did not join them. The couple now reacted with horror for what could have happened in that scenario, but there was another person who understood very well what happened with Issei and Rias in that meeting and reflected it with his expression of annoyance and frown. Nix, those damn old men, how dare they do that to my beautiful servant, increasing her aura. Unforgivable, it is unforgivable. Right now I will go and kill you myself. Looking at those present with empty eyes. The aura of the goddess of the night began to slowly release, drawing the attention of those present who were concerned about Nix's condition. The Fae, Nix-sama, please calm down. Seeing Nix worried. Ingvald, please think carefully, would Issei-san approve of me doing something like that? Seeing Nix equally worried. Hearing the words of the descendant of Leviathan, Nix sighed deeply to calm down, and her aura also normalized, reassuring those present. Nix, sorry, I got angry, and lowering her head in shame. Issei, it's okay Nix, I understand what you feel. I also wanted to beat up those old men, but that wouldn't solve anything. I'm the one to blame for making that decision without consulting you. Small smile. Nix, Issei. Seeing Issei worried. Zeka, what the hell are you talking about? This wasn't your fault, it was the council. Seeing Issei a little annoyed. Issei, Piro Zeka yo. Zeka, you have no objection, you made the best decision, not only for yourself but for everyone. You didn't just defend me, but also the others who aren't demons, and you still say it's your fault. Seriously, sometimes you're a fool. If I had been there, I would have supported you. And I don't think I'm the only one, right? Looking at the rest of those present. Bravo, HMMP, of course Zeka-sama, I would also support your decision if I had been there. Issei-sama, after all I am your bishop and your manager, I will follow you wherever you go. Damn, sometimes you are very baka. Issei-sama, saying the last thing with a small blush. Asia, I will also support your decision. Issei-san. I am also your bishop and I promised you that I would follow you wherever you go, even if I also leave Japan. I don't care as long as I want to stay by your side. Seeing Issei blushing. Ingvald, I will go with you as your queen. I don't have much experience, but I'm sure of one thing. In my heart I want to stay by your side, so I will also accompany you, and when you feel sad again, you can come. I think that's part of my duty to listen to my king. Smiling and blushing. Roswis, I'll also go with you. I'm your tower, but also your sensei. And I don't plan on leaving my problematic student alone. Besides, you remember the promise I made, right? I said in front of many people in a studio that I would give birth to your children, so you won't make me go through that embarrassment without at least keeping that promise. Small smile. Benia, he also count on me. Being with you is more fun than when I was with Sona, so I will stay by your side, even if I see you from the shadows. Nigh, hi smiles mockingly. Issei, girl smiling looking at those present. Zenovia, they are right, as your knight and as your fiancé I will never leave you alone, you are my king and the future father of my children, I will not let you escape easily, so I think I will also renounce my nobility, after all I only had a few pieces. Nervous smile scratching his head. Bekeno, Yufufu, as you see Anata, there was no need to act like that, we all support your decision, and if we have to go with you, we will. We are not going to let Rias have you all to herself. Playful smile. Rias, what are you insinuating, Akeno? I know Ice isn't just mine, he's also yours, and as the harem leader, I can't leave my beautiful harem sisters alone. Looking at Akeno with a flirtatious smile. The black-haired girl only responded with her typical little laugh, amazed by Ria's response, but Issei only expressed a small smile at the words of his beloved. Issei, thanks girls, I really appreciate you loving a fool like me, smiling looking at those present. Roigun, well, if that's how you're going to do things, then I'll inform my team that it will be dissolved. I'll talk to my family so they can take care of my pieces. Smiling. Laisha, I will do the same, I will speak with my family and request my expulsion from the Astaroth family with a calm tone. Issei, Roigun-san, Laisha-san, are you also going to renounce the underworld? Surprised seeing the girls. Roigun, you said it, right. You can't be in this territory or any other area of Japan. Plus, I cause problems for my family because I use the king's piece. And I only care about ratings games, but no rating game would be fun without you. Flirty smile. Laisha, in my case, I promise that as a member of the Astaroth family, I would apologize for all the harm that Diodora did to you. Also, I will not allow the man I like to escape. I struggled a lot to propose to you, I will not throw my efforts in the trash. Defiant smile. At these statements Issei only expressed a smile with a small blush, while Rias let out a mocking giggle at her beloved's embarrassed expression. She already assumed that Roygun and Leisha would also leave everything to be by the side of the man they love so much. Issei, changing the subject, since we can't be in the underworld now, he asks me if any other faction could receive us. Looking curiously at the girls. The brunette's question made the calm atmosphere that was forming change to a tense one where Irina, who remained silent with her head, raised her gaze, while Gabriel and Lint looked at her sadly. Irina, about that darling, there is something I must tell you looking sadly at Issei. Issei, HMMP. What's wrong, Irina? Did something happen? Is everything okay in heaven? Looking at Irina worried. Irina, hi, everyone is fine but. Issei, but. Looking curiously at Irina. Irina, this happened at today's meeting. Flashback. Sky. A place located above the clouds, with a bright white roof high above, protected by a large golden door and with stone buildings floating around is known as heaven. The place where angels and the biblical god reside before their deaths, it was also the former home of the fallen angels before their fall. What makes this site important is the god system, as well as the brave saint system and the sacred gear system, where the biblical god previously resided. After his death, his second creation Archangel Michael took his father's place and control of the system. However, during the battle against the Trahexa, Michael along with his brothers Raphael and Uriel were going to be sealed inside with the beast, but in a final act of kindness Michael expelled his brothers away from the barrier to seal himself, entrusting the fate of heaven to his brothers. And after Michael was sealed, the new overlord of heaven became his brother, Archangel Uriel. He was currently meeting with the rest of the seraphim as the new overlord. Sixth heaven. Now located in the sixth heaven or Zebel, where it is protected by a large golden door that only a god-class being could break. Inside those doors, there was a huge white room adored by several columns with golden ornamentation. In that space, there was a round table where the 10 seraphim who make up heaven sat, although one seraphim was missing, reflected in his empty seat. The first 3 seats were led by the 3 great seraphim. On the right Raphael of Clover, on the left Gabriel of Heart, and in the center the current leader of heaven Uriel of Diamond. Also present were Irina and Lint at Uriel's request. Irina couldn't be more excited to be sitting with the 10 seraphim of heaven. The dream of every Christian believer came true. However, the brunette never forgot the promise she made to herself after Michael was sealed, and that was to become an archangel and obtain her own deck of cards. The meeting was currently proceeding normally, discussing issues such as system control, as well as pending issues with the Vatican. Uriel, very well, I am pleased to know that all matters are resolved, which brings me to the last topic of this meeting. First of all, Irina, One-san, Lint, I would like to ask the 3 of you something. Smiling. Lint, huh? Us 3. Opening her eyes in surprise. Irina, of course Uriel-sama, go ahead and ask whatever you want. Smiling. Uriel, tell me, how is your relationship with the Sekiryuutei Hyoudou Issei going? Looking at the mentions with a smile. At the overlord of heaven's question, Irina and Gabriel's cheeks turned red, while Lint expressed a playful smile. Gabriel, huh? Yuri-chan, why are you asking that now? Looking at her brother with a blushing pout. Metatron, ha ha ha. I'm sure our brother just wants to confirm if Sekiryuutei Dono hasn't given you the forbidden fruit. Gabi-chan making ninjutsu positions with his fingers. The rest of the room looked at Metatron strangely. They already knew well the obsession of the seraphim with the shinobi world, although returning to the subject, Gabriel's cheeks blushed more strongly. Gabriel, well Issei-chan and I are doing very well and we haven't become perverted things yet because I told him that we have to wait until marriage. Blushing playing with her fingers. Lint, hee for my part my relationship with Issei is incredible. We have had some progress. Once naked, I tried to assault him in his bed, but. Gabriel, Lint-chan, don't say eccentric things in this meeting room. Pouting. Lint, ha sorry but our relationship is going very well, although I am very grateful to have this. Showing a ring on her finger. Without this little thing I would have already become a fallen angel. Mocking smile. Uriel, I see. I'm glad to see that our scientists created those rings that would prevent them from falling if they sin. Our technology has evolved a lot this year. Smiling. And you Irina? Looking at the girl. Irina, huh? Well, I embarrassed. Uriel, it's okay Irina, if you don't want to say it, I'm not going to force you. I can tell from your expression that you have a good relationship with him, right? Smiling. Irina, hi, darling, I mean Issei-kun is my childhood friend and my fiancé. I am very grateful to Michael-sama for always having him by my side and loving him forever. Smiling excitedly, but then blushing from embarrassment. Oh, excuse me. Uriel, ha, as I suppose then I see that the 3 of you do have a good relationship with him, so I would like to entrust you with a task. Looking at the 3 smiling. Gabriel, a task. Looking curiously at her brother. Lint, huh? Really? How lazy, but I suppose if you ask, I'll accept mocking smile. Irina, hail. The three of us will do it with great enthusiasm. I'll strive for heaven. For my Michael Sama. Smiling excitedly. Gabriel, you must know that this task is very important for heaven since it would determine your future. For that reason I would like you to convince Hyoudou Issei to join our faction. Smiling. That question left the three angels puzzled. They did not quite understand what Uriel was referring to. Gabriel, Edo, Yuri-chan, I didn't understand what you said. What do you mean by join our action? Looking at her brother in confusion. Gabriel, I'm sorry if I didn't explain the details well, but I'll tell you. The other Seraphim and I have been talking and we came to a conclusion. We are going to break the faction alliance agreement and we want Hyoudou Issei to be on our side to help us purify the sinful faction. Smiling. Gabriel's words caused more confusion in Gabriel, Lint, Metatron and especially in Irina, who still can't process what Uriel said. Metatron, purify the sinful factions. Nai-san, you're joking, aren't you? It's rare to see you making jokes. Nervous smile. Lint, hey, I hope what he said was a joke because I don't find it funny either. Looking seriously at Uriel. Raphael, this is no joke. We all agree to put an end to this silly alliance once and for all. Looking seriously at Lint. Gabriel, you too, Rafa-chan. Why are you saying such cruel and senseless things? Do you really support this? Looking at the rest of his siblings. As Adquiel, of course Uriel Ani-sama is right to end this alliance. I was already tired of remaining united with those disgusting factions. Looking seriously at Gabriel. Daniel, at least we will get something good out of this alliance. It was the Sekiryuutei with its power. Heaven will be invincible. With a calm tone. Hamel, excitedly banging the table. My blood boils to start the battle. I've been waiting for the moment when our faction finally takes victory after the last great war centuries ago. Smiling arrogantly. The decision of his brothers left Gabriel in shock, not to say that his heart broke to see that his brothers were not joking. Lint for her part frowned in annoyance, clicking her teeth in rage, while Irina still continued without reacting, not believing in the words of the Seraphim. Metatron, how dare you? Don't you see the sheer stupidity? You're looking angrily at his brothers. Uriel, calm down. Metatron looking seriously at his brother. Damn, how is it possible that they understand the true purpose of our father and you don't see the same vision as us? Looking disappointedly at Metatron. Metatron, our father's true purpose. What are you talking about, Nai-san? Looking at Uriel, serious and confused. Uriel, Father created us angels as the perfect and pure beings who must guide the world. We are more perfect than those sinful demons or the defective fallen angels, and we are more divine than the gods themselves. Yes, we are the pinnacle of his perfection. As the perfect beings that we are, we must put order in this world. And purify the sinful factions so that they can be saved. And I will be the one to bring them salvation. That is the divine will of our Father. Smiling enormously with madness. The shinobi Seraphim had no words to describe the scene, he only watched his brother in horror, and although the rest of the Seraphim were calm at Uriel's words, Gabriel for his part was in shock, not to say horrified, while Lint was surprised, and then Irina decided to intervene. Irina, Uriel-sama, what are you really planning to do with darling? Looking seriously at Uriel. Uriel, I already told you Irina, we want her to join us to help purify the rest of the factions. Of course, we'll have to give her a territory away from heaven. I would hate for her to touch our angels with her sinful hand. Smiling calmly. Irina, sinful. Wouldn't darling be welcome in heaven? Even if Uriel looks serious. Uriel, Irina, you know as well as I do that Hyoudou Issei is a demon. It is impossible to reincarnate him as a brave Stains. Do you think I would let that perverted demon get close to pure beings like us? Of course not. I will only allow you to satisfy your carnal desires while he remains in a territory isolated from heaven as a way to observe him. Smiling calmly at Irina. Lint, watch him. That's bullshit. You just want Issei as a tool for heaven. Just like I was and freed Ani-san. Looking angrily at Uriel, clenching his fists. Raphael, Lint, I ask you to watch your words when you speak to your leaders. Also, Hyoudou Issei owes us. If it hadn't been for the sacred gears system that placed a boosted gear in his body, he would have been another ordinary human, just like you. Irina turning to look at Irina, if it hadn't been Michael who reincarnated you as Ace, you would still be a normal human. Now is your chance to pay your debt to heaven, bringing us the power of the Sekiryuutei. Looking serious Irina. Raphael's words hurt Irina, she knows that what he says is not true, Michael never reincarnated her to be in debt to heaven. Gabriel, Rafa-chan, what nonsense are you talking about? Issei-chan and Irina-chan don't owe heaven anything. Michael didn't reincarnate Irina-chan to be in debt to us, and the system could have chosen anyone to be the Sekiryuutei. We were lucky that it was a kind and generous person like Issei-chan, so don't you dare say that they have debts with heaven, because if you do, One-chan, she will get very angry with you. Looking annoyed at Raphael. Irina, Gabriel-sama surprised by Gabriel's words. Hamel, TCH, please Gabriel stop being childish once and for all, and think about the future of heaven. If we had the power of that brat, there would be no one, not even the gods would dare to bother us. Looking annoyed at Gabriel. Gabriel, Camel Nai looking at Camel in surprise. Peniel, our enemies may already have plans to seize the power of the Sekiryuutei. If we don't make our move, first other factions could do it. Looking seriously at Gabriel. The Seraphim of Hearts just remained silent at what her brothers were saying, looking at them with utmost disappointment in her eyes, when at that moment Uriel's clapping caught the attention of those present. Uriel, come on, this is not a place for us to fight amongst ourselves. Irina, Nisan, Lint looking at the three mentioned. I understand how you feel. I know this task is very complicated for the three of you, but believe me when I tell you that it is for the good of heaven. Smiling calmly. Irina, forgive my words Uriel-sama, but I don't think this is for the good of heaven at all. What you're saying is nonsense. Besides, what about our friends? Darling would never leave them to join heaven. Looking seriously at Uriel. Uriel, oh, don't worry about that Irina. I'm aware that Hyoudou Issei's other fiancés are important people to him as they are to you, and that's why they will also be welcomed in heaven, but the demon women will have to undergo a purification ritual. Smiling. Irina, purification ritual. Looking at Uriel in confusion. Uriel, hi, I can't allow those filthy demons to step on our holy land again, and that's why before welcoming them to heaven, they must be bathed in holy water to purify their filthy bodies, and thus they will be free of all their sins and will obtain Father's blessing. Smiling at Irina. Although the Archangel said those words with a good gesture of generosity towards Gabriel, Lint and Irina were the opposite. They reacted with expressions of horror, knowing what holy water does to demons, and not wanting to imagine what would happen to the girls in that purification ritual. Irina, have you gone crazy? That's not a purification ritual. It sounds more like cruel torture. He'd kill them if he did that to them. She looked at Uriel in shock. Uriel, please Irina, don't get upset. I know that holy water burns demons, but don't worry. If they accept Father in their hearts, then they will survive and be free from their sins. Smiling calmly. Irina, and what about those who aren't demons? Will they also be purified? Looking angrily at Uriel. Uriel, of course not, they will not have to undergo the ritual, and that includes our sinful sister Penium, and we already have plans for them. Smiling looking at a person. The moment Uriel finished his sentence, a person sitting in the second seat on Raphael's left side stood up from his chair. The person turned out to be a beautiful young woman with glasses, long grey hair tied in a ponytail with a gold ornament, green eyes, and a voluptuous figure. Dressed in a white uniform with gold accessories, unbuttoned, revealing a large neckline, she also wore a short skirt, black stockings covering her legs, and high-heeled shoes. The woman in question was the chief of Heaven Research, the Seraphim, Sandalphon. Sandalphon, thank you very much Uriel-sama, Irina-san as head of research. I would like to tell you that some of the promised women of the Sekiryuutei possess surprising abilities. 2 of them have sacred of Longinus category, another 2 possess divine powers, and 1 possesses one of the 4 sacred beasts, another comes from the vampire faction, and 1 has the ability to be a high-level magician that could surpass our level of magic, even if she is human. That is why I would like to put those women in the 4th floor of heaven, the Garden of Eden, to be able to study them. Smiling adjusting her glasses. Lint, I don't think I like that very much, putting on an uncomfortable expression feeling chills. Irina, study them? What the hell is Sandalphon-sama talking about? Looking seriously at Sandalphon. Sandalphon, isn't it obvious? We plan to study them to gather information not only about the sacred gear, but also about the other factions where they come from. Even the demon women who survive the purification ritual will be sent to Eden to be studied. They will be able to live and enjoy paradise, but in return, they must go to the laboratory to do some tests on them in order to understand our knowledge. And don't worry if someone wants to see the naked body of your friends, only you, me. Gabriel ni-sama, Lint-san and Hyoudou Issei-sama will have access to Eden. Smiling calmly at Irina. Sandalphon's response didn't please Irina at all. First, they want to send their darling to a territory in heaven for her perverted attitude, then bathe her friends in holy water, and finally lock them up like animals to study them with them. Irina, that's too inhumane. Sandalphon-sama, they are people, not subjects of experimentation. How can you treat them like that? Looking annoyed at Sandalphon. Sandalphon, Irina-san, those women are from an inferior race. For example, there are the sinful demons, the defective fallen angels, the disgusting vampires, the false divinities called gods, the wild yaokeis and the fragile humans, but we angels are different. We possess beauty, intelligence and true divinity. We are the most perfect race, therefore, we have the duty to dominate the inferior races and promote science. Smiling superiorly to Irina. Lint, this woman seeing Sandalphon angrily clenching his fists in rage. Irina, that's ridiculous. How could you say such things to them? Exclaiming angrily to Sandalphon. Lint and Gabriel along with Metatron were the only ones who noticed Irina's annoyance. These agreements also seemed unfair to them. For their part, Sandalphon just remained calm despite Irina's complaints. Uriel, that reminds me. There's something else I wanted to ask you. Irina looking at her when you were a warrior of the church, it's true that your partner is a natural wielder of the holy sword, right? Smiling at Irina. The brunette reacted with horror in her gaze when she knew who Uriel was referring to. Irina, what are you planning to do to Zenobia? Looking at Uriel in horror. Uriel, so her name is Zenobia, sorry, I don't remember the witch's names well smiling. Uriel's words made Irina react with surprise at how the archangel referred to her friend. Uriel, the truth is it's a shame she would have been an incredible brave saint, but when she found out that father had died, she renounced her faith and became a demon. What a sad person, I pity her with a sad tone. For the chestnut, those words of pity expressed by her were not very pleasant because of how she was referring to Zenobia. Uriel, I wonder, does he still believe in our father? Smiling calmly. Sandalphon, Uriel Sama, that woman is a demon, do you really think our father still believes? Looking seriously at Uriel. Uriel, well, I've seen that some blasphemers feel some guilt and retain a bit of their faith. I think perhaps she still believes in him despite being a demon, smiling calmly at Sandalphon. Irina, she never stopped believing, whispering. Uriel and Sandalphon turned to look at Irina, curious about what she said, while the rest of the room felt that the atmosphere was going to get heavier than usual, while Lint and Gabriel were more worried that Irina was going to do something crazy. Irina, Zenobia never stopped believing in God, and she simply can't stop doing it. She never had a normal life. Since she was little she was taught that serving God was her only purpose in life. When she found out that the Lord had died, everything she believed in collapsed. Even so, she remained strong, knowing that God no longer exists. She became a demon because she wanted a new purpose. Even I got angry with her and called her a heretic. I thought she made a very stupid decision for doing that, but now. Thousands of memories of Zenobia flashed through Irina's mind. Some of them showed her cheerful and smiling when she went to the academy or walked with Asia, when she tried to seduce Issei, and when she won the student council presidency, a smile always remained on her face. Irina, now she can have a normal life, and all thanks to the fact that she is now a demon, but even if she has been reincarnated as one, she will never renounce her faith in God. She would still continue believing in him all her life, so I ask you, please, getting up from her chair, don't call Zenobia a heretic again. Exclaiming loudly in the room. Everyone in the room remained silent. Metatron, for his part, put on a pleasant smile, as did Lint and Gabriel. There is no doubt that Irina would never defend her best friend, but on the other hand, the Seraphims were a little annoyed by how Irina defended that witch. However, he remained calm in the face of the brunette's scream. Sandalphon, in that case, if what you say is true, he donated his body to our cause. Looking seriously at Irina, adjusting his glasses. The Seraphim's words confused Irina, who sat back down in her chair. She had no idea what the Seraphim was referring to until, using magic, Sandalphon made some documents fly to Irina, who grabbed them and held them in her hands. She didn't know what it contained, but when she opened the file and began to read and browse through some documents, her expression was now one of pure horror. Sandalphon, as Irina-san already knows, the Vatican wanted to create the true descendant of Siegfried, the best sword user capable of wielding the demonic sword, Graham, and although they succeeded with their first artificial human, we know that he is dead, but even with its success, the Vatican wanted to continue seeing how many descendants of the hero Siegfried they could produce to use Graham, but unfortunately, and in my opinion, the artificial humans they created after Siegfried turned out to be nothing but failures. Looking surreptitiously at Lint. Irina, and what does this have to do with Zenobia? Stopping reading the documents to look at Sandalphon angrily. Sandalphon, Vera, based on your research I realize that Zenobia Quarta is a natural wielder of a holy sword. She has been able to use the holy sword, Durandal, having better compatibility than its best wielder Vasco Strata, and not only can she wield and use the full power of the most powerful holy sword ever created, Excalibur, which makes her someone as powerful as the hero Siegfried, she will undoubtedly be a valuable specimen. Looking at Irina with a wicked smile. Irina, valuable specimen. Looking at Sandalphon confused and serious. Sandalphon, hi. With your permission, Irina-san, I would like to experiment with Zenobia Quarta to create artificial humans who are natural bearers of the sacred sword. As you could read in the documents I presented to you, my team has already created the area where we plan to experiment on her. Don't worry, the experiments won't damage any vital organs or her reproductive areas. She will still be able to have children if she wishes. Although she may feel some pain, if she remains a woman of faith, she will know that all this will be for the good of heaven. Sinister smile. Irina remained silent upon hearing everything Sandalphon planned to do to her best friend, and if everything she read in those documents was true, she would be subjecting Zenobia to hell. Uriel, come on Arena, don't make that face, be happy, the sins that woman has committed will be forgiven by making the sacrifice in father's name. Just think about it, with the power of the Sekiryuutei and the artificial humans created from Zenovia Quarta, we would have the most powerful army of all time, no faction would oppose us, and if anyone opposes us, they will receive our divine punishment, since that is the divine will of our father. Crazy smile. Arena, shut your mouth. Arena's loud scream impressed everyone in the room, especially Uriel, who looked at the brunette confused. Gabriel felt Arena's pity as he watched the brunette's gaze darken. Gabriel, Arena-chan looking sadly at the girl. Arena, shut up, please shut up, the Sekiryuutei power. Inferior races. Study my friends. Experiment on Zenovia. Artificial humans. God's will. Everything you heard in this meeting is ridiculous, how can you say such cruel things? We are supposed to be angels, our purpose is to guide those who lost their way, not trample on them. I bet if he were here he would be disappointed in all of you, everything you have said goes against Michael Sama's will. Exclaiming annoyed. Uriel, Michael was useless. Angrily banging the table. Uriel's scream silenced the entire room, leaving Gabriel and Metatron surprised. Lynn just looked seriously at Uriel. The other Seraphim kept their distance, and Sandalphon resumed his seat, but Arena was the most surprised by Uriel's words. Uriel, he was a coward, an idiot who never understood our father's teachings, as I do, and yet in the Great War when we lost father, all of us wanted to go avenge him and exterminate those damn demons, but that bastard Michael announced our withdrawal from the war, and we had to leave with frustration on our faces. If it had not been for that coward, we would have finished off the demons and fallen angels, clenching his fists in anger, and even father chose him as his successor. The envy I felt at that moment holding his head. Why? Why father? Why did you choose that coward Michael? Instead of me? I should have been the one to become God, not him. I who know your true purpose and enforce your teachings. Why didn't you choose me? Why did it have to be the bastard Michael? Exclaiming furiously at the room. Gabriel, Yuri-chan, stop. Stop saying cruel things about Michael-chan, he was the one who sacrificed himself for you and Rafa-chan, so you wouldn't be sealed in the Trihexa. He entrusted the future of heaven to both of you. Please stop calling Michael-chan a coward. Looking annoyed at Uriel. Uriel, shut your mouth Gabriel. Looking annoyed at Gabriel, he deserves to be recognized for what a coward he is. We all know that Michael is father's second most powerful creation. He was so powerful that he alone could have eliminated all the demons of the underworld and the fallen angel deserters, but his foolish pacifist mentality, thinking what is best for heaven, decided to form that disgusting alliance with our enemies, something that I will never forgive him. But maybe he did something good for a change. Thanks to this alliance we will obtain the power of Sekiryuutei. Maybe finally that coward did something good after all, don't you think? Mocking smile looking at the rest of the Seraphines. Raphael, Michael's sacrifice will not be forgotten, but we had to go through many humiliations to get to that point because of him. I'm glad to know that he finally did something good for heaven. Seriously. Daniel, I agree, Michael at least did something for the future of heaven by granting us the power of the Sekiryuutei. It's a shame he's not here to congratulate. A mocking smile. Adquiel, although I'm still upset that we have to ally ourselves with those immune sinners, at least we'll get something good out of this, thanks to Michael. Seriously. Hamel, that's right. I can feel a new war approaching and I'll gladly fight to the fullest. I've always been fed up with Michael's pacifist stance. He was a total weakling, but at least that useless guy did something good by giving us the Sekiryuutei. Mocking smile. Sandalphon, of course, thanks to him, my research will make a great advance, not only with the power of the Sekiryuutei, but also with the abilities of Zenovia Quarta. Yufufu Michael may have been an idiot, but he got me some interesting specimens. Mocking smile. The Seraphim's opinions deeply saddened Gabriel. Tears began to flow down his face as he couldn't believe that his brothers were mocking and insulting the person who gave his own life so that they could continue being here. He simply couldn't accept that this was the true face of his family. For their part, Lint and Metatron frowned when they heard the Seraphim's words. They wanted to make them retract their words, but starting a fight wouldn't lead to any solution. And on Arena's side, the brunette remained with a darkened look while she listened to the insults and mockery that the Seraphim made of Michael. She just remained silent, containing all the anger she felt at that moment. Uriel, but back to the subject. Arena, Lint looking at the two girls. If you agree to fulfill this task, I will reward you by promoting you to Archangel. Smiling. That revelation left the two girls surprised, especially Arena, who couldn't believe the words of the Overlord of Heaven. Arena, are you serious? Uriel Samba looking at Uriel. Uriel, hey, I know it's been your dream to become an Archangel, right? If you complete this task, I'll promote you to Archangel, and you'll be given your own deck so you can form your brave stains, which you say is a good reward, right? Smiling at Arena. The whole atmosphere was left with Lint frowning in annoyance at Uriel, while Gabriel and Metatron looked worriedly at Irina, alarmed at how quiet the brunette was. Irina, so if that's the case I won't do it. Irina's comment left another cold and silent air in the place, which surprised most of the seraphim present, but Uriel was the only one who didn't process the girl's response. Uriel, excuse me Irina, but what did you say? Irina, I refuse to do this task. If doing this will turn me into an archangel, then I won't do it. Dark look. Again, Irina's response did not please Uriel, who maintained his calm smile, but was actually angry at not hearing the answer he wanted to hear. Uriel, Irina, listen to me carefully. Didn't you hear everything we talked about here? Did you hear that this is for the future of heaven? Then tell me, squeezing his hands, why do you refuse to fulfill the sacred task? Don't you know that this goes against the will of? Looking annoyed at Irina. Irina, I don't care. Exclaiming annoyed. The girl's loud scream shocked the entire room, both those present and Uriel remained silent because of what Irina said. Irina, I don't care if this goes against God's divine will. I know that God never wanted to be avenged or for us to crush the other factions. I know how kind, good and gentle God is. That is the God I believe in, and I know that it is God that Michael Sama believed in, and those same qualities that I mentioned that he possessed were what made Michael Sama be chosen as God and not you. Uriel Sama looking serious. Uriel. The brunette's words were leaving the seraphim present breathless. They didn't expect Irina to respond to her superior like that on her part. Gabriel was also impressed, while Lint and Metatron expressed a smile on their faces, while Uriel remained silent while the brunette continued speaking. Irina, and let me make something clear to you, I will never betray or sell my beloved darling, my friends and my best friend for being an archangel. If all this is going to be part of the future of heaven, then I refuse to be part of a plan as nefarious as yours. Looking angrily at Uriel. The room fell silent again at Irina's words, but was upset by the words of other girls, while Uriel continued in shock, unable to process Irina's response, but the matter was not going to end there. Lint, I refuse to. I don't plan on doing that to the man I love who never saw me as an experiment and saw me more as a real human. Small smile, besides you guys aren't funny at all, and Issei is 1,000 times funnier than all of you, pieces of trash sticking out her tongue. Lint's comment, although very vulgar, left those present in the room surprised. The seraphim frowned in annoyance at Irina's and Lint's negative response, but without a doubt the angriest was Uriel. Uriel, you, how dare you go against Father's will? Do you oppose his teachings? Exclaiming angrily at the two. Gabriel, Yuri-chan, stop it. You're the one who's offending our Father's will. Everything you've said is total blasphemy to his name. How have you not become a fallen angel with everything you've said? Looking annoyed at Uriel. Uriel, because what I say is the truth. Look. Standing up to take out his 12 pairs of golden wings, these wings reveal the purity of my words. At no time have they blinked. That means that I am not against Father's will. Because I and only I know his true purpose. This is his divine will, I am his chosen one to make it happen. Exclaiming loudly. Gabriel and Metatron remained silent, seeing the pure golden color of their brother. They knew well that blasphemy was a sin that led to falling, but it seemed that Uriel had no symptoms that his wings would turn black. Uriel, and now listen carefully, you two. Looking at Irina, you have a debt with us. It was thanks to Michael you were able to reincarnate as an angel, and you pointing to Lint are just a failed experiment. If you disobey my orders, I will have you locked up again. Having said that, now show your loyalty to heaven. And do the will of my Father. Otherwise I will consider you deserters, and as punishment, I will banish you from heaven and you will become fallen angels. Seriously sentencing Irina and Lint. The two aforementioned girls opened their eyes in surprise, horrified by the Overlord of Heaven's declaration, but such action seemed unfair to the two seraphim on their side. Gabriel, Yuri-chan. That's not fair, you can't do this to them. Looking angrily at her brother. Uriel, that's right, Yurilani-sama, you can't banish them when they haven't committed any. Uriel, silence. I am the Overlord of Heaven. I am the one who represents Father's will, and those who defy his will must be punished. Looking seriously at his brothers. The atmosphere felt heavy and tense as Lint and Irina frowned, annoyed at Uriel for being threatened with the task. Meanwhile, Gabriel and Metatron stared earnestly at the Overlord of Heaven, where it seemed a fight was about to break out at any moment, until. Excuse my intrusion, brothers, but I'm sorry for the delay. The huge white doors opened, showing two figures entering the room. Both were female, the first a beautiful woman with a curvy body and voluptuous figure with long blonde hair tied in a braid. She has a tuft that slightly covers her right eye, and her left eye is blue, as well as a small braid on the side of her face. She has huge breasts that she covers with a breastplate in the shape of golden wings, which leaves the lower half of her breasts exposed. She wears black underwear and a golden three-pointed dress, from which each one has a long piece of fabric from the bottom that leaves her thighs exposed and leaves the back uncovered, leaving her buttocks exposed, in addition to wearing golden boots and gloves. And the second figure is a beautiful woman in her 20s or 30s, with blue eyes and a voluptuous figure. Dressed in a nun's outfit. Those people turned out to be Seraphim Sariel and Gabriel's Queen of Hearts, Griselda Quarta. The room was speechless for the new arrivals, however, a serious expression could be noticed in both of them. Raphael, Sariel Nisan, you're running late, we're almost done. Sariel, there's no need to say it Raphael Ani-san, I was busy investigating some matters, but don't worry, I'm following this whole conversation looking seriously at her brother. The other Seraphim were uncomfortable with their sister's presence, while on Irina's side, Lint, Gabriel and Metatron looked curiously at the two women, Irina and Lint, being more interested in Griselda's presence. Sariel, Uriel Ani-sama, you know that it is forbidden to accuse two angels who have not broken the rules of the sacred system on a whim looking seriously at Uriel. Uriel, Nisan, they oppose fulfilling our Father's divine will, do you think I? Sariel, please don't come with that divine will of our Father, I have been investigating your actions on Isama and discovered that the system has not recognized you as overlord looking seriously at Uriel. The rest of the Seraphims became nervous, while the rest of those present did not know what was being talked about, and on Uriel's side, he only saw his sister with an annoyed expression. Sariel, when you were named the new overlord and the sacred system was transferred to you, you only controlled 20% of it, so you've tried to hack it to control it completely, but all your attempts have been in vain, right? And as proof of that, you've tried to eliminate the blessing that Michael Nais-san put that allowed the demons Asia Argento and Zenobia Quarta to pray looking seriously at Uriel. Sariel's revelation shocked Gabriel and Metatron, while Irina and Lint's reaction was also surprising, especially when Irina learned that Uriel tried to remove the blessing that Michael gave to her friends. Uriel, TCH clicking his teeth in annoyance, that damn system is defective, why doesn't it recognize me as the new god? Why is Michael's name still written there? I'm supposed to be god now, I'm the one who should make the rules then, why doesn't Father's sacred system recognize me? Banging the table angrily. The Seraphim present looked at their brother with concern, while Sariel looked at him with utmost disappointment, but Griselda now spoke. Griselda, it has also been investigated that you looking at the Seraphim gave your consent for Uriel Sama to manipulate the system, you should be ashamed with disappointment in her tone. Raphael, you're not the right person to tell us that, Griselda. You're just a reincarnated woman. What right does that give you to scold us? Looking seriously at Griselda. Griselda, I have every right in the world Raphael Sama, you have tried to destroy what Michael Sama has done in the absence of God as his children, you should be able to understand it, but as I see it does not seem so. Looking with disappointment at the Seraphim. The Seraphim looked at Griselda with annoyance, however, the nun did not care how her superiors saw her, since the woman had not yet taken out all her disappointment and annoyance. Griselda, I would also like to tell you something. Sandalphon Sama looking at the Seraphim, I listened to everything you plan to do to Zenobia, and I warn you that if you think I'm going to allow you to experiment on her you're wrong, I don't care if this turns me into a fallen angel, but if you ever lay a hand on Zenobia, I'll kill you. Sentencing Sandalphon with a cold voice. The Seraphim, faced with Griselda's threat, only clicked her teeth in annoyance and frowned at her words. Sandalphon, wretch looking angrily at Griselda, how dare you threaten me? Don't you know the scientific value of your brat? You're an idiot nun who doesn't understand the scientific advancement we could achieve. But despite Sandalphon's words, Griselda just stood firm and chose not to answer him anymore, leaving the Seraphim angry, but then Uriel spoke up. Uriel, likewise, all this that you have said Sariel Nisan, is not relevant to the future of heaven. Looking seriously at Sariel. Sariel, how curious that you say that, because if it is, since you do not control the system 100% you cannot turn Irina Hyoudou and Lint Selazin into fallen angels. Sariel's statement drew an annoyed expression from Uriel, while Irina was relieved to hear the news, as Uriel's threat no longer held any value. Uriel, but I can still banish them for refusing to comply, and as long as they are in heaven, they would obey my orders. Looking angrily at Sariel. Sariel, I see how this illusion works in that case, what if they promise not to interfere in your affairs? Sariel's question left Uriel shocked and confused, as did the rest of those present in the room. Metatron, Sariel Nisan, what are you talking about? Looking curiously at Sariel. Sariel, that Irina-san, Lint-san become free angels, and in return they promise not to interfere with the affairs of heaven. At Sariel's action, Irina and Lint were surprised by the Seraphim's proposal like the rest of those present in the room, but Uriel only smiled mockingly in response. Uriel, ha ha ha, are you serious, Nisan? Do you really think anyone would take such a proposition? Irina, I accepted, getting up from her seat. Uriel, huh? Looking at Irina in disbelief. What did you say, Irina? Irina, I accept the proposal, this is no longer the heaven that Michael Sama loved so much, and I prefer to go with my darling than to continue obeying him. Looking seriously at Uriel. The overlord couldn't believe Irina's words, but it wasn't just her, Lint also stood up from her seat with her classic smile. Lint, I also accept Serial-sama's offer, besides as they say I'm a failure, right? Then you don't need me anymore, but I know someone who doesn't see me as a failure, and curiously he's a man I like, so with your permission I prefer to be with him than continue with you pieces of trash like you, filthy pigeons. Oops, I let out mocking smile. The rest of the Seraphines did not like Irina and Lint's answers at all, looking at them with disdain, while Metatron smiled proudly at the decision of both girls. Uriel, snapping his teeth, if that's how things are then. Gabriel, wait a moment. Standing up from his seat, I'll go with them, looking seriously at the room. Raphael, what? Looking at his Gabriel in shock. Daniel, Gabriel, think about it. You're one of the 3 pillars of heaven. Do you want to abandon all this to go with those cowards? Looking at Gabriel in surprise. Gabriel, everything I saw in this meeting made me realize that you are no longer the brothers you once were. You are no longer the people Michael-chan entrusted with the future of heaven. Perhaps it is a foolish decision. I know that for you. I am just your baka and childish immature, but there is someone who does not consider me an idiot, and despite my childish personality, he loves me as I am, and I want to stay with him. That being said, I announce my resignation as Seraphim of Heaven, looking seriously at everyone present in the room. The Seraphim were in complete shock, no words at all at Gabriel's declaration. Metatron smiled warmly at his little sister, Serial smiled at Gabriel's decision, just as Griselda couldn't expect more from her Seraphim. On the other hand, Irina and Lint were also surprised by Gabriel's announcement, but their expressions showed a smile. They perfectly understood that Gabriel wouldn't leave his beloved brown-haired girl either. But for Uriel, the action his sister was taking seemed so stupid that he could only look on with a frown of annoyance. Uriel, so if that's how you're going to do things, then go ahead and join those deserters. Your replacement will be. Gabriel, wait a minute, Yuri-chan, even before I give up I have 2 conditions, looking seriously at her brother. Uriel, conditions? You just said you're giving up being Seraphim, and you dare to put conditions on it. Have you lost your mind? Glaring at Gabriel. Gabriel, if you fulfill my conditions, I promise that I will not interfere in the affairs of heaven, either, looking seriously at Uriel. The Overlord put on a frustrated expression at the conditions his sister wanted to set, however, if she promised not to interfere with his plans, at least it was worth listening to her. Uriel, alright. What are your conditions? Looking at Gabriel with annoyance. Gabriel, the first one is that I want my replacement to be Serial Nisama, and the second one is that you will promote my queen Griselda Quarta to Seraphim, and you will give her my deck. That's all. Looking calmly at Uriel. Once again, everyone was shocked by the conditions imposed by Gabriel on the part of his brothers. They did not see that said conditions were fair. Metatron was also surprised by his sister's 2 conditions, as were Irina and Lint, who were left speechless. Serial looked impressed by her older sister, while Griselda, faced with her Seraphim's last condition of giving her his deck, could only look at her in shock. Griselda, Gabriel-sama looking at Gabriel in surprise. However, Uriel found his sister's conditions absolutely ridiculous, since his sister was already deciding her successor, when he should be the one doing so. Uriel, how ridiculous, your conditions are absurd. Ni-san, give me a reason why I have to comply with them. Looking annoyed at Gabriel. Gabriel, well, maybe I'll have to tell Issei-chan everything they said in this meeting. I imagine he won't see heaven with good eyes when he knows everything you wanted to do to Zenobia. Looking calmly at Uriel. The Overlord, faced with Gabriel's response, now had a nervous expression. Although he wasn't afraid if his sister made Issei interfere in his affairs, it's very likely that heaven itself wouldn't be able to contain a furious Sekiryuutei, so he had no choice but to accept her conditions. Uriel, okay, I accept your conditions. Griselda Quarta will be promoted to Seraphim and will be granted your deck. Serial Nisama will take your place as a pillar of heaven. In addition, I accept your agreement from this moment on. Gabriel, Lint Selazin and Irina Hyoudou, your ties with heaven are broken from this moment on, and from now on you are free angels. Later you must appear to make the changes in your ranks with the system, but I will give you this divine warning. You will be prohibited from stepping foot on the sacred territory of heaven again, and if you decide to return, you will be considered heretics and judged by the divine will of Father. Sentence to the girls. Irina, hi, Uriel-sama, then with your permission getting up from his seat we will go. The brunette began to walk, as did Lint and Gabriel, who also stood up to leave. The other Seraphim looked at them with disappointment, while Metatron could smile with relief, hoping that the 3 of them would have a good life. But before leaving, the 3 of them looked at Serial and Griselda with a smiling expression. Gabriel, thank you for this, Serial Ni-san. Please take good care of this guy, okay? Smiling. Serial, that's right, One-sama, please take good care of yourself. Smiling. Gabriel then hugged his younger sister, who hugged him back, while Irina and Lint also said goodbye to Griselda. Irina, Griselda-san, thank you for everything. Griselda, okay, promise me that you will continue believing in the Lord no matter what happens, never lose your faith, smiling sweetly. Lint, hee hee, of course, now the cute angel-chan. Lint is an angel who will bring the Lord's justice to the villain's mocking smile, but then changed her expression to a calmer one. Really, thank you, sister. Griselda, you don't have to thank me, now you can live the life you want, smiling. Irina looking at the girl. Irina, yes. Looking curiously at Griselda. Griselda, please take care of Zenobia. I know she's a very strong girl, but she's a bit of an airhead, that's why I want you to make sure she doesn't do anything stupid, okay? Smiling. Irina, Griselda-san looking at Griselda in surprise. Griselda, also, could you tell her this from me? Tell her to live a happy life with Issei-chan, take care of herself and have many children with him. I'm sorry I can't be there to tell her in person, but I want you to know that her dear sister is proud of her, to see that she has become a very strong woman. That's why I want you to know that no matter what happens, I will always love my little Imitu, smiling. Griselda's words caused Irina to shed a few small tears that fell down her face. Lint, Gabriel and Serial worried about the brunette until they saw that she wiped her tears and smiled at Griselda. Irina, I trusted my Griselda-san, I promised to tell that baka everything, smiling. The nun smiled and then hugged Irina, who hugged her back before separating for a moment and then starting her way with her friends to leave the hall. End of flashback. After listening to Irina's story, the entire room of the Hyoudou residence fell silent, but Issei and Ria's reactions could not be expected. On the one hand, the Redeed looked sadly at Irina, Lint, and Gabriel for what happened, but on the other hand, the brown-haired man had his head down, his gaze was darkened while his brow was extremely annoyed. Issei, those bastards, clenching his fists holding back his anger. Zenobia, I still think you made a terrible decision with her head down and her hair covering her eyes. Irina, do you want me to repeat what I saw in those documents? The horrible things they wanted to do to you? Do you have any idea how horrible it was to hear how they were going to experiment on you? Looking annoyed at Zenobia. Zenobia, I don't care. Exclaiming annoyed. Zenobia's loud scream surprised everyone in the room, including Irina. Irina, Zenobia looking at the girl in amazement. Zenobia, you and Sister Griselda did this to protect me, but who told you I wanted you to protect me, you idiots? Shedding some tears. The crying of the blue-haired girl with green streaks worried all the inhabitants of the residence, especially Irina, who got up from her place on the sofa and walked to the piece of furniture where Zenobia was, then bent down and wrapped her arms around her in a hug. Irina, you're right, Griselda-san and I are idiots. I gave up my dream of being an archangel, and Griselda-san won't be able to see you anymore, but we made that sacrifice so you could live the happy life you have now, so go ahead, hate us if you want, but Zenobia, I want you to know that sister will always protect you no matter what happens. Irina's words touched something in Zenobia's heart, who reciprocated the hug, starting to cry silently while hugging her friend. Action that somewhat brightened the atmosphere of the room by seeing the beautiful consolation scene, something that made Asia and especially Issei and Rias very happy. Issei, even so, with everything that happened, I'm glad they didn't stop being angels. Lint, hee and not only that, showing the ring on his finger, the rings still work since they have their own sacred system, smiling. Gabriel, I know that Yuri-chan and the others will realize the evil they are doing, until then we will never be able to return to heaven, lowering her head a little sadly. Issei, I'm really sorry, if I had been there I would have been able to help, small smile. Gabriel, don't worry Issei-chan, we say this, so it's okay, small smile. Issei, I see, in that case I will respect your decision, smiling and then realizing something, then, your banishment from heaven is the reason why Kuoh was crying, right? The boy turned around worried, seeing how the little Kyuubi princess was still crying silently while being comforted by Office and Lilith. I'm not afraid that's not the reason why Kuoh has been sad, Issei Dono. That was a voice that was heard in the room. The brown-haired man recognized it very well and knew who it was, when then entering the room a woman arrived that Issei already knew and by the way was one of his current fiancés. A voluptuous young woman with long blonde hair, matching eyes, delicate facial features, and very short round eyebrows. Her hair is tied back in a loose ponytail that reaches down to her legs and ends in a coil, secured with taut bandages. Her attire consisted of a traditional Mecha outfit, perhaps her most striking feature being her 9 golden fox tails and fox ears. That's right, that woman was the leader of the Eastern Yokai faction, in addition to the central pillar of Kyoto, as well as one of Hyoudou Issei's fiancés, Yusaka. With the sudden appearance of Yusaka at the Hyoudou residence, Issei and Rias were surprised to see her here and not in their faction, but the others, who looked sadly at Yusaka, already knew the reason for the presence of the Kyuubi queen, who had a sad expression in her eyes. Issei, why Yusaka-san, what are you doing here? Looking curiously and surprised at Yusaka. Yusaka, we had nowhere else to go, and Kuoh asked me a lot to come here after what happened, looking at her daughter with melancholy. Issei, wait a minute, did something happen to you and Kuoh in the Yokai faction? Looking at Yusaka worried. Yusaka, hi, you'll see what happened. Wait a minute, haha. The call to Yusaka turned out to be the voice of Kuoh, who finished wiping away her tears while letting go of Office and Lilith's embrace to go to her mother and hug her tightly. Yusaka, Kuoh surprised seeing how her daughter hugged her. Kuoh, haha, let me explain it please, I know that you are also hurt by what happened, hugging Yusaka's leg tightly while shedding some tears. Kuoh's sudden act left those present silent, they were worried to know what had affected Kuoh so much. Yusaka then with a calm smile, raised her left hand and placed it on her daughter's head and then began to caress her and then knelt down to put herself at her daughter's height. Yusaka, it's okay Kuoh, leave it to haha, okay. Smiling. Kuoh, still sobbing silently, nodded at her mother's words and then separated from the hug and turned around, looking sadly at the room, while Yusaka stood up again, but with a melancholic expression looked at those present. Yusaka, the reason for my presence Kuoh is due to a situation similar to that of Irina Dono, Gabriel Dono and Lint Dono. It all started when I was summoned by the Kyoto Yokai Council. Flashback. Kyoto Yokai faction. In an alternate dimension in Kyoto itself, reside the Yokai beings originating from Asia, Japan and China. Some are considered demons or called honest, and others monstrous according to their legends. Yokai generally like to cause trouble and play tricks on humans, but they are harmless as long as they are not provoked. This Kyoto is also known as Hidden Kyoto, while Outer Kyoto is the normal city of Kyoto where humans live. Among the Yokai there are several factions and leaders, those leaders are known as the Yokai. Kyoto in particular is the West Yokai faction, controlled and protected by the Kyuubi clan currently led by the Yokai, Yukaka Harem. On previous occasions, Kyoto suffered attacks, such as when the hero faction kidnapped Yusaka, but thanks to the collaboration with Azazel, Serapho, the help of Issei and his companions, as well as the participant of the legendary Monkey King journey to the west, Sun Wukong, they managed to rescue Yusaka and establish an alliance with the Yokai. Some time later Thanatos of the Alliance of Hell attacked Kyoto, but again this attack was repelled thanks to the help of those who were his enemies, the hero faction, as well as Issei and his companions who faced Thanatos using his Oxa form. Since then, after the defeat of the Alliance of Hell, a period of peace came to Kyoto, however, things were about to take a different turn. Yusaka received a summons from the Kyoto Yokai Council, a council established by wise Yokai, with the purpose of assisting the Yokai in governing Hidden Kyoto and ensuring that all decisions are made for the good of the inhabitants. Headquarters of the Kyoto Yokai Council. Now located in a huge building resembling a traditional Japanese castle with 6 floors and with a huge red torii gate at its entrance, the Yusaka Council meeting was taking place. 6th floor of the Yokai Council headquarters. Meeting room. Now in a huge room with a wooden architecture where there was little lighting, provided by a few lanterns that were distributed throughout the room. Yusaka was sitting in a Seiza position on a cushion while in front of her was the assembled Yokai Council also sitting on Seiza-shaped cushions. Counselor Karasu Tengu, we are pleased to know that you accepted the summons for this meeting, Yusaka Harem looking seriously at Yusaka. Yusaka, as the Yokai and leader of Kyoto, I am obligated to attend the council meeting if there is any important matter involving the well-being of Kyoto with a calm tone. Councilman Kappa, well, you are correct, Yusaka Harem, we have discussed what the next step for the future of Kyoto will be in a calm tone, looking at Yusaka. Yusaka, I see, if it's for the good of Kyoto, you can count on my cooperation then. What is it you wanted to talk to me about? Looking at the council doubtfully. Councilman Karasu Tengu, after the recent attacks on our faction, such as the kidnapping by the hero faction and the attack by Kami Thanatos, we cannot allow Kyoto to continue having these incidents without consequences. Yukiana Council, that's why we've decided that at the next faction meeting, the Yokai will break the peace agreement reported by the biblical factions with everything calm. Yusaka, what? Looking at the councilwoman in disbelief, break the peace agreement. Have they gone mad? Looking at the council in dismay. Councilman Karasu Tengu, it wasn't a very easy decision Yusaka Harem, but after the events mentioned above we realized that those bastards from the other factions have always caused us too many problems, their kidnapping caused chaos throughout Kyoto, and the attack of Kami Thanatos almost destroyed the city. Looking seriously at Yusaka. Yusaka, forgive my boldness, but making that decision is foolish. Have you forgotten who rescued me? And who repelled Thanatos' attack? Looking somewhat annoyed at the council. Councilman Oni, TCH clicking his teeth in annoyance, we know it was the team led by Azazel's Tengu, but he used the situation of his kidnapping to his advantage to make us accept the agreement, and since we are allied with them the Kami Thanatos attacked us, this alliance has brought us nothing but misfortune. Looking angrily at Yusaka. Isaka, then if that is the case I totally disagree, please I ask you to reconsider the situation without the help of the alliance, we would be completely alone against the attack of future enemies, seeing the council seriously. Counselor Nekomata, you don't have to worry about that, Yusaka Haim. You have the solution to ensure the safety of the people of Kyoto looking playfully at Yusaka. Isaka, solution? What are you talking about? Looking at the Nekomata in confusion. Councilman Karasu Tengu, we are talking about the Sekiryuutei Dono Hyoudou Issei Dono, we know that he is her current fiancé, as well as Kunu Haim's fiancé looking calmly at Yusaka. Appa Councilman, right now we couldn't have the best luck, Yusaka Haim, if you convince Sekiryuutei Dono to join the Yaokai faction, his immense power would guarantee us protection against any attack from another faction that tries to attack us again looking calmly at Yusaka. Isaka, what are you saying? That I should convince Issei Dono to join the Yaokai faction? Do you really think I'm going to turn the hero of the alliance against his own allies? I find it ridiculous. I would never do that to the man I love and to Chichiyu Kunu. Looking at the council angrily. Councilman Oni, don't talk nonsense. Slamming his kanabo hard against the ground Yusaka Haim, how dare you disrespect this council? Don't you see this is for the future of the people of Kyoto? Glaring angrily at Yusaka. Isaka, there are other ways to ensure a good future for the people of Kyoto than that Councilor Dono, but not the one you are thinking of. Looking seriously at the council. Councilwoman Yuki Onna, Yusaka Haim, I don't think I'm seeing the whole picture. With the power of the Sekiryuutei on our side, no other faction would think twice about attacking them. We could even use it to conquer the eastern faction. Looking seriously at Yusaka. Isaka, wait a minute, does the Yaokai Norarian Dono know about all this fuss you're making? Looking at the council seriously. However, no council member issued any response, which led Yusaka to confirm his suspicions. Isaka, I can't be. Then looking at the council in horror. Councilman Karasu Tengu, we, the Yaokai of the West, are affiliated with the powerful Kitsune Kyuubi clan. We should be the ones to govern a single Yaokai kingdom and subdue the eastern faction. This is our goal, using the power of the Sekiryuutei to our advantage. In a calm tone. Isaka, so your goal with Issei Dono joining our side is just to use his power and destroy the eastern faction, right? Looking seriously at the council. Councilor Nekomata, that's right Naya. Then if Yusaka Haim is convinced we can. Isaka, they are fools. Councilor Nekomata, Naya looking at Yusaka confused. The rest of the council were also surprised by the words Yusaka uttered from her mouth. Isaka, Issei Dono would never attack anyone who wasn't an enemy, and he isn't the object of any power you may have. He's a very brave and kind man who protects the people he loves. Do you think I'm just seducing him to draw him towards us? You're wrong, I'm not the only woman in Issei Dono's heart. Small smile. Councilwoman Yuki Onna, what? Isn't that hentai dragon content with Yusaka Haim and Kunu Haim? So tell us, how many women does he want? We have so many Yaokai that I'm sure. Isaka, what a bad image you have of him. Councilman Yuki Dono, Issei Dono would not accept just any woman, he already has women who love him, and I am grateful that my daughter and I are among those women who occupy a place in his heart, so I am sorry, but I refuse to manipulate the man I love like that. Looking serious, but smiling at the end before the council. Isaka's response certainly didn't please the councillors at all, who were angry and looked down on their queen for refusing their request. It seemed they would continue to protest with her until. What a bunch of cheesy nonsense you're spouting, aren't you a little old to be playing the lady in love? Yusaka. A new voice resonated throughout the room, and it was a female voice, which seemed to be well recognized by both the council and Yusaka. The council fixed their gaze on the new person who entered the room, and Yusaka turned her gaze to see who it was, being surprised by the person who looked before her eyes. That person is a beautiful young woman with long golden hair and eyes of the same color, and a voluptuous figure. She also has fox ears and 9 golden tails. She wears a kimono open at the shoulders, revealing her enormous breasts. She wears a giant bell ornament on her breasts and a monocle over her right eye. The council didn't seem surprised by the newcomer's presence in the room, but Yusaka was looking at her with shock. Isaka, Akagi, what are you doing here? Looking at the woman in surprise. As Yusaka mentioned, the name of this woman is Akagi, a member of the same Kyuubi clan to which Yusaka belongs. However, the difference is that the Kitsune Kyuubi clan is divided into 2 branches, the main and the secondary. In the main branch there are Kyuubi like Yusaka and Kunu who descend from the founder of the clan, and the secondary branch where Akagi comes from, a descendant of the founding brother of the clan. So that makes both women cousins, but the difference is that the secondary branch has never been able to inherit the mantle of ruler in Kyoto, a right that only those of the main branch and their descendants possessed. Which caused the members of the secondary branch to feel great hatred and resentment towards those of the main branch of the clan. But returning to the present, Akagi began to walk around the room, the sound of his sandals being heard, until he passed Yasaka's side and stood in front of the council. Akagi, it's a pleasure to see you too, Yasaka. I see you haven't changed much, although I notice some wrinkles. Are you getting old? Fufufu mocking smile. Yasaka, please answer Akagi, what are you doing here? Looking seriously at Akagi. Akagi, sighing tiredly, seriously, you haven't changed at all, but it's okay, I'll tell you, I'm here to show the council that I was right when I told them that you would be incapable of fulfilling the task of attracting the Sekiryuutei. Evil smile. Yasaka opened her eyes in surprise at her cousin's words. Had her cousin already spoken to the council about this? And if they had, why had they kept this information from her? These were questions she was now asking herself, and she wanted answers to them. Yasaka, wait, looking at the council incredulously, did you guys plot all this to test me to see if I would accept your plan? The council remained silent. It was obvious that their silence betrayed them, but the chief counselor was the only one who answered the Queen of Kyoto's question. Counselor Karasu Tengu, I hate to say it, Yasaka Harem, Akagi Dono was the one who proposed the idea of taking over the power of the Sekiryuutei Dono. She herself offered for this mission, but we wanted to give her the vote of confidence. If you could do it, excuse us for not having told you, but looking sadly at Yasaka. Akagi, but as I was telling the council, I told them it was a waste of time, since my cowardly cousin would be incapable of doing this task, smiling mockingly at Yasaka. Yasaka, coward. Seeing her cousin disgusted. Akagi, that's right, you're a coward who couldn't take the Sekiryuutei seed, using the excuse that you love it. Have you forgotten the nature of our clan? Playfully looking at Yasaka. Akagi's question caused Yasaka to blush in embarrassment, who preferred to remain silent and not answer. Akagi, as I see that you forgot, I will remind you of the Kyuubi clan. It is an ancient family from many years ago. For many generations we have dedicated ourselves to deceiving humans to take from them what we want. We form our offspring by mating with each other to maintain a pure lineage, but we have also taken the seed of strong Yaokeis, with the purpose of engendering a new invincible race of Kyuubi. However, as some Yaokeis seem unpleasant and unattractive to us, we prefer to seduce humans by manipulating them to take their seed and thus procreate more of our race. Then we forget about them and simply look for another partner. I mean, it is very normal to see a Kyuubi or a Kyuubi who has several partners. For example, I have had hundreds of lovers and I do not remember any of them. I just approach them, I say a few nice words, and in a second they fall into my networks. How pathetic humans are, don't you think, Yasaka? Ha 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 ha, laughing in mockery. But Yasaka didn't find any grace in Akagi's words, but unfortunately that was the nature of her clan, but the woman was the only one who never saw those rules of her clan well. Akagi, but you definitely won the grand prize, although I think that congratulations go more to Kunu, who would say that that girl would attract the seed of the Sekiryuutei to our clan, and yet you wanted to steal that seed from your own daughter. You really are cruel, Yasaka mocking smile. Yasaka, you're wrong, Akagi, where am I wrong? I'm just telling the truth, you're a forgotten woman who must be seducing her daughter's boyfriend with the excuse that you want to make him her Chichiyu. Be honest, Yasaka, you're only attracted to the power of Sekiryuutei. Both you and Kunu just want their genes to breed more of our race, mocking smile. Yasaka, you're wrong. Looking annoyed at Akagi, I was never attracted to Issei Dono for his power as a Sekiryuutei. Just like Kunu, she is not attracted to him either. We are both in love with him. I fell in love with him not only for rescuing me, but because he makes Kunu happy. He is kind, gentle, and was willing to protect Kyoto and all its inhabitants, regardless of whether they were strangers to him. Those are the reasons why I love Issei Dono. And for him and my daughter, I am willing to go against you and against those of the clan, seriously sentencing Akagi. The council was impressed by Yasaka's strong words. They did not expect that kind of reaction from the calm Yaokai queen. However, Akagi only responded with a mocking expression. Akagi, what beautiful words you left me moved, Yasaka. I think I'm going to cry, but mocking smile, what a shame, with those beautiful words you couldn't do anything when he died. That last provocation from Akagi brought Yasaka to the limits of her patience, and the memory of a bedridden man smiling at her in what were his last moments of life flashed through her mind. Yasaka, Akagi, I'll only repeat this once, because I'm doing my best not to cause a scene here. If you ever tarnish his name again, I swear, I'll kill you. Looking at Akagi coldly. Although what the Kyuubi and the council noticed in Yasaka was that her eyes had a more slanted pupil, as if it were a canine's, not only that her 9 tails were waving fiercely while a monstrous aura surrounded the Yaokai. Papa Councilman, why Yasaka Harem, please calm down, this is not like you seeing Yasaka scared. Suddenly the monstrous aura disappeared as Yasaka's pupils returned to normal while the Queen of Kyoto sighed, relaxing as she looked at those present. Yasaka, I apologize for a moment when I got carried away by my emotions, making a small bow. Counselor Oni, that doesn't matter anymore then Yusaka Haim, will you fulfill the task we entrusted to you? Looking at Yusaka with a frown. Yusaka, I have told you my answer, I will not do such a vile act for your arrogant ambition, I regretted seeing the council seriously. The council did not like Yusaka's response at all. Some viewed it seriously, others with disappointment, and others with extreme anger. Councilwoman Oni, this woman, snapping at them and annoying them while looking at Yusaka. However, Akagi did not seem upset, in fact she was very calm, as if she knew the answer Yusaka would say, until she decided to speak. Akagi, see. It was like I told you, my cousin is unable to see for the safety of all the Yaokais, and wanting to help our faction grow, she would definitely deserve a punishment, don't you think? Playful smile. Councilman Karasu Tengu, Akagi Dono, please don't start another fight. We want. Councilman Oni, no, she's right. Yusaka Haim, if you refuse to comply with the council's order, you will be punished by banishing your daughter. Looking annoyed at Yusaka. Yusaka, what? Looking incredulously at the councilman and then changing her expression to one of anger you can't do this. Looking annoyed at the Oni. Counselor Oni, if we can, Kuoh Haim will be banished from the Yaokai territory. If you do not comply with our order. Now decide your next actions carefully, Yusaka Haim. Looking menacingly at Yusaka. Yusaka was undoubtedly sure that she would lose control again and attack the councilman. Of the things that are sacred to her in this world, her daughter is one of them. If they were to harm her, she doesn't know how she would respond, but despite the fact that her body's main action is to respond with violence, she knows well that going against a Yaokai councilman would be a serious crime even for her. And under the pressure of what to do, he frowned, knowing what answer he should give. His heart was beating rapidly. He wouldn't like what she was about to say, but he didn't want his beloved Kuoh to get involved. And on behalf of the council, they waited for Yusaka's response while Akagi smiled satisfied, enjoying the spectacle. Yusaka, okay, I accept. Wait a minute haha. The voice very recognized by Yusaka intervened in the room to the surprise of the council and Akagi to see who was the new presence in the room. It turned out to be Kuoh who had launched her loud scream at the doors of the room, where two huge Oni guards were trying to stop her. Oni guard, please Kuoh Haim can't pass. Oni guard 2, he knows this is a private room, but he doesn't have permission yet. Kuoh, shut up, haha needs me, let me pass trying to pass between both guards. The little Kyuubi managed to slip away from the guards who saw the situation very badly when they let the Yaokai princess in. For her part, Kuoh ran as fast as she could to her mother to hug her with all her strength. Yusaka, Kuoh surprised seeing her daughter. Councilwoman Oni, Kuoh Haim, what the hell are you doing? This is a private meeting. You're not authorized to. Kuoh, shut up ugly ogre, I'm not going to let them force haha to do something she doesn't want to do looking annoyed at the councilman. The Oni grimaced in annoyance at what Kuoh said, while the other members of the council were uncomfortable by Kunoh's response to one of their members. For her part, Akagi watched with curiosity the arrival of the girl, while Yusaka continued surprised seeing her daughter. Yusaka, Kuoh listen haha you have to do this if not you looking sadly at Kuoh. Kuoh, I don't care, I prefer to be banished than for you to do something bad to Issei Dono seeing her mother worried. Yusaka, old. Kuoh, both you and Issei Dono are the people I love the most in this world, I know that haha feels the same way he loves me and Issei Dono, that's why I won't let the people I love suffer because of me shedding some tears. Yusaka fell silent at her daughter's words, then a small smile spread across her lips. What was she thinking when she accepted that proposal? She loves her daughter, just as she loves her beloved, and she would be incapable of doing anything cruel to the people she loves. Yusaka, thank you Kuoh, for a moment you prevented haha from doing something stupid smiling sweetly, caressing her daughter's head. The little Kyuubi smiled at Yusaka's caresses on her head, turning this moment into a special one between mother and daughter. Akagi, I won't let the people I love suffer because of me. How disgusting. What the hell have you been teaching your daughter, Yusaka? Looking at Yusaka with disgust. The pleasant mother and daughter moment was interrupted by Akagi, the two Kyuubi, then looked at the woman, although Yusaka had a serious expression, while Kunoh's face was surprised. Akagi, listen to this Kuoh, your aunt Akagi will teach you well what love means in our race, for us love is nothing mischievous smile that's right, it's nothing, just a tool we use to seduce our targets, let me explain it to you in clearer words putting on an angry expression, don't adorn your carnal desires with words of love. Those words only made Yusaka look angrily at Akagi, however Kuoh just remained serious looking at the woman. Kuoh, you are wrong, I do not see Issei Dono that way, I truly love him, maybe you and the rest of the clan do not believe in love, but I believe in him, that is the lesson that haha is seeing Akagi annoyed. The Kyuubi queen looked at her daughter in surprise, and then her expression changed to a small smile. She was very glad that she had been able to raise her daughter well without having to resort to her clan. Akagi, oh, do you really believe that? You are adorable, Kuoh, that you believe that something like love exists for us, although the reality is that that man only sees you and your haha as trophies. I mean, haven't you seen the number of partners he has? The bodies he has, I'm afraid you don't qualify his tastes, my little Kuoh. I know what type of woman he likes. Sekiryuutei saw a playful smile. Kuoh, what are you saying? Akagi, a seductive look and a voluptuous body. Her legs started to shake and start growing a compassionate and kind personality. Her breasts started to increase in size. She is very confident, but she is intelligent. Her hips and thighs started to increase and grow, something like that, right? Kuoh was surprised at what Akagi was doing while Yusaka remained silent, observing her seriously. Akagi, hair-length long blonde hair grew to cover her entire thighs. I'd say she's not blonde, right? Changing her hair color to orange. She doesn't have orange either. Changing her hair color to red, it's red, and her age I think would be more or less this. The woman then began to grow until she looked like a young woman, whereafter her kimono transformed into casual clothes, impressing Kuoh but annoying Yusaka. Akagi, and what about the voice? Sounding just like the girl she transformed into. It was then that the two Kyuubi saw what Akagi had transformed into. Kuoh was speechless and only watched in surprise, while Yusaka continued to express her annoyance by clicking her teeth. Yusaka, what you're doing is disgusting. Akagi, using that ability, seeing Akagi annoyed. Mother and daughter would clearly see how Akagi had completely transformed into Rias' Gremory. Akagi, disgusting. I don't know what you're talking about. This is one of our clan's abilities. We can transform into anyone to deceive our targets. Of course. I remembered you were the only one who opposed this ability, which is why you never taught it to your daughter. Mocking smile. Yusaka just frowned in annoyance while Kuoh looked at her mother in surprise. Could they do that? Only her haha had taught her how to transform into a fox. Something like what Akagi did was completely new to her. Akagi, look at this carefully, Kuoh. This is the type of woman that Sekiryuutei sama likes, coughing a little to clear her voice. I want to always be with Ice, my dear Ice, the man I love with all my heart and the most important person in life, sounding the same as Rias to put on a sweet smile, but then changed a mocking expression. It's all pretty and empty words. None of that matters. The only thing that pervert likes are these things, levitating her breasts. He only cares about women with big breasts. There is no feeling behind it. He is the same as us. He just wants to satisfy his carnal desires, smiling mockingly at Kuoh. Those present were surprised. It was really a perfect imitation of Rias. Yusaka only saw Akagi's act as disgusting, and on Kuno's side, she put on an angry expression at the words the woman said to her. Kuoh, it's not true, that's not true. Issei Dono would never look at women, and his imitation is horrible. Akagi Dono, Issei Dono would realize that that's not the real Rias Dono, seeing Akagi annoyed. Akagi, Ara, don't get so angry, Kuoh-chan. I'm just showing you the nature of the man you love. He wouldn't notice things like love, only their bodies, and as far as I'm concerned, grabbing her huge breasts, lifting them, the face, the body, the voice, the gestures, everything. Looking at Kuoh somewhat annoyed. Kuoh, shut up, Issei Dono is not that kind of man, seeing Akagi annoyed. Akagi, I see you're still not convinced. Let me show you more about your man's tastes. How about this? Smiling, transforming into a Keno. Ara, you can touch my breasts as much as you like, Anada, or maybe something like that. Transforming into Asia Issei, and I never left your side, or maybe something like that. Transforming into Kuroka Naya, let's make kittens Issei Naya, but I think this one is much better. Smiling mockingly, starting to transform. In front of everyone, Akagi changed form again to one that surprised everyone, but Yusaka and Kuoh did not like at all the form that the Kyuubi adopted, since in front of them, Akagi had transformed into Yusaka. Akagi, Sekiryuutei Dono, I wish to make you Kuno's Chichiyu. Please take this body of mine and satisfy your desires with me. Smiling mockingly, sounding just like Yusaka, groping her breasts. Kuoh found it insulting how Akagi imitated her mother, but then Yusaka, who should have been upset, just looked at the woman seriously and then sighed and exhaled tiredly. Yusaka, I understand if for you to seduce Issei Dono is to pretend to be another woman, that shows how little pride you have as a woman, in a calm tone. Akagi, eh? Looking in disbelief at Yusaka. Yusaka, you said it yourself, didn't you? You've had thousands of lovers, but I'm sure you've had to pretend to be someone else in every single one. How sad of you that no man ever sees you for who you really are. It's a real shame. Looking at Akagi with pity. Akagi, Yusaka, you seeing something bothers Yusaka. Yusaka, but Issei Dono isn't like that. He loves Kuoh and me for who we really are without having to pretend to be other people. You really make me sad. Akagi looking at Akagi with disappointment. Kuoh was amazed by her mother's words and also put on a small smile, although Akagi was not at all happy with Yusaka's words. Returning to her original form, she clicked her teeth furiously while her tail swished with fierce movements. Akagi, damn, don't you dare insult me like that. Glaring angrily at Yasaka. The woman was going to launch herself at Yasaka to attack her, but before she could get close a wall of ice appeared in the middle blocking her way. Councilwoman Yuki-Onna, Akagi Dono, we remind you that you are still in the council room. No violent action will be allowed in this room. Seeing Akagi seriously. The Kyuubi only contained her anger for not being able to take revenge on Yasaka, while Yasaka herself just looked at her seriously, while Kuno remained hugged to her mother, the ice wall broke up, leaving a still tense atmosphere among those present. Councilman Karasu Tengu, very well, if we all calm down now, Yasaka Haim, please tell us, what would your answer be? Looking curiously at Yasaka. Yasaka, who would see her daughter still hugging her, gave a small smile and then separated from her daughter's hug, which surprised Kuno, then stood up and looked at the entire council, who were expectantly waiting for Yasaka's response. Yasaka, I refuse to comply with your request, looking calmly at the council. That response surprised the council. They didn't expect Yasaka to digest that after the threat of expelling her daughter, which made some members very angry at her response. Councilman Oni, Yasaka Haim knows then that if she does that her daughter will looking at Yasaka annoyed. Yasaka, wait a minute, dear counselor, I haven't finished, looking calmly at the counselor. The Oni demon changed his expression from anger to confusion, and so did his companions, looking curiously at the Kyuubi. Yasaka, I refuse to comply with your request, and furthermore taking off her crown from her head, I renounce being the queen of Kyoto, looking calmly at the council. Kuno, huh? Looking at her mother in disbelief. Kuno wasn't the only one. The council and Akagi were also surprised by Yasaka's sudden declaration, even for Akagi. Councilman Karasu Tengu, why Yasaka Haim, please think carefully about what you are deciding. Are you looking nervously at Yasaka? Yasaka, hi, if this is going to be the future of the Yao case, I can't be part of it, that's why I renounce my title, and I will go with my daughter far from here, with a calm tone. Councilwoman Nekomata, have you gone mad? Have you forgotten that you are the central pillar of Kyoto? If you leave, who will replace you? Naya, seeing Yasaka upset. Yasaka, that won't matter as long as a member of the Kyuubi clan becomes the new central pillar, and the clan will be delighted to know of my resignation. I never had a good relationship with its members, so they'll probably already name someone to take the throne, in a calm tone. The woman then bent down to drop her crown on the ground to everyone's surprise, and then looked at Kuno with a smile. Yasaka, let's go, Kuno extending her hand with a smile. Kuno, but Haha, seeing her mother worried. Yasaka, it's okay Haha, you no longer have any responsibilities. We can both go together here, small smile. The Kyuubi could not contain a little her tears that ran down her face. She perfectly understood the sacrifice that her mother was making for her. The girl then grabbed her mother's hand, who smiled at her. Yasaka, then, esteemed members of the council, I am retiring. I will be on hand to inherit the position of central pillar of Kyoto to the next ruler. Have a nice day, bowing. And with that action, Yasaka and her daughter began to walk to leave the room as if nothing had happened, leaving some members in shock and others completely angry at the cowardly action of the Kyuubi. Akagi, wait, Yasaka. Are you really going to abandon your entire home and kingdom for a man? Looking annoyed at Yasaka. The woman stopped, to her daughter's concern, as she turned to look at the woman, reflecting a confident smile. Yasaka, my home will always be with my beloved daughter and my dear Issei Dono, it's something you would never understand, Akagi smiling. Yasaka's response made Akagi frown in annoyance as the woman and her daughter calmly left the place under the gaze of those present. Thus concluding this chaotic meeting, only the golden crown of Yasaka, now ownerless, remained in focus as a sign of his resignation. End of flashback. After hearing Yasaka's story, Issei and Rias were speechless. The other girls already knew the story, and that's why Kuno was so sad. Issei, Yasaka-san looking at Yasaka in surprise. Yasaka, I know that my decision may have been selfish, but I would never betray you, Issei Dono, nor would I ever abandon your daughter, seeing Issei calmly. Kuno, but I still feel that it's my fault that Haha had to give up being the queen of Kyoto, lowering her head a little sadly. Issei, that's not true, Kuno, your Haha made that decision for herself so as not to leave you alone. I'm sure that if you had been in her place you would do the same thing. Small smile. Kuno, Issei Dono coming impressed to Issei. Rias, also Yasaka-san made the best decision for you, it doesn't matter if you can't return to your faction here, you will always be welcome as your Haha smiling at Kuno. Kuno, Rias Dono also looking at Rias with impression and then putting on a small smile, thank you, I appreciate it very much. Yasaka alone also with a smiling expression to her daughter, thus changing the atmosphere back to a calmer one for the moment. Elmenhold, to tell the truth, they also asked me the same thing. Issei, what? You too, Elmenhold. Looking curiously at the vampire. Elmenhold, hi, the Carmilla faction tried to convince me to make you join the faction and thus annihilate the Teeps faction to put the name of the vampires back as the supreme race, but I told that bunch of idiots that I wouldn't do that, they threatened to banish me if I didn't do it, so I accepted my punishment, and now I can't return to the Carmilla faction, crossing her arms under her breasts to lift them. Issei, but Elmenhold, if you know that you can't do that, seeing Elmenhold worried. Elmenhold, I don't care, I'd much rather be with you than my silly faction, besides blushing a little, you're my fiancé, and you also supply me with your delicious blood, I can't let a prey like you escape me. Despite her somewhat proud comment on her noblewoman's side, Issei understood the vampire's words very well, giving her a small smile, something that was noticed by Elmenhold, who also gave a small smile, plus a slight blush on her cheeks. Suzaku, it seems that it wasn't the vampires either, the Himejima clan was thinking about the same idea with a calm tone. The Keno, the Himejima clan too. Looking at her cousin in surprise. Suzaku, the council elders met with me to propose the idea. They say that the power of the Sekiryuutei would crush the main clans, with a calm tone. Rias, and what did you tell them? Seeing Suzaku worried. Suzaku, I rejected their idea. They threatened to relieve me of my position and prohibit the welcome of a Keno and Tobio again if I don't accept. They told me that I have all day to think carefully about my decision, in a calm tone. The Keno, Suzaku looking at her cousin with concern. Suzaku, I find it ridiculous if you think I will choose that over my own family. I would be incapable of doing something like that just because they want power, so I decided to resign from the position as clan leader quietly. The news surprised those present a lot, but more than anyone, it impacted Issei more than a Keno. The Keno, are you sure you're going to do that? Looking worriedly at her cousin. Suzaku, hi, the Himejima clan was always corrupt since before you and I were born, the elders only care about power and pure blood ties. I tried to change that, but there were always members of the clan who looked down on my decisions, and I do not intend to follow in their footsteps. That said, I prefer to give up on myself, with a serious and decisive tone. Issei, but what if a new clan leader were to order the execution of members who are external, such as Tobio or Akeno? Looking curiously at Suzaku. Suzaku, Yufufu, then I should think twice. Tobio is very dangerous on his own, and Akeno, well, I think it goes without saying, right? Mocking smile. Issei, no, that's missing. Akeno would win without a doubt, but if you need help, let me give you a hand, smiling. Akeno, Anada smiling with a slight blush. Suzaku also gave Issei a smile with a slight blush, grateful for the words of her beloved, who after listening to each story told by his loved ones, let out a slight sigh, but expressed a smile in his eyes. Issei, very well, I think that after hearing everything that happened, I realize that these new factions only seek my power, whether they are demons, angels, yaokeis, vampires or even humans, they will not rest until they obtain it, no matter the method they use, and if that threatens you or my loved ones, then I think I have a solution to this problem, smiling. Ingvald, what are you planning to do, Issei-san? Looking curiously at the brunette. It wasn't just her, the rest of her loved ones were also very interested in knowing Issei's plan to deal with the situation. Issei, it's simple, the idea is not to get involved with any faction, as we know they won't stop until they have my power, and personally, I don't want to start a fight, so we'll go live our lives free away from them, smiling. Rias, huh? Ice, did you say we're going? Looking at the brunette, excited and curious. Issei. Hi. Did you think I'd go alone? Of course I wouldn't leave without you. You're the most important people in my life. I want all of you to come with me, if you agree, of course. Smiling with a slight blush on his cheeks. The brown-haired boy's proposal undoubtedly left everyone surprised, as well as with their hearts beating madly with excitement, with Rias being the first to react to her Ice's proposal. Rias, my dear Ice, you know very well that I will follow you wherever you go. You don't have to ask us, and speaking for everyone, we will gladly accept to go with you, smiling. Asia, as Rias One-Sama said, we will all go where you go, Issei-san, I don't think any of us can be without you, that's why she can count on us, smiling excitedly at Issei. Akeno, it seems perfect to me, just us alone with our Anadi Fufu sensual smile. Zenovia, it will indeed be a good opportunity to take advantage of Issei, even better to take advantage of our night moments, even Zeka will do it, smiling excitedly. Zeka, me too. Looking at Zenovia blushing. Zenovia, it's a good opportunity, Zeka, you've been in the harem for a while, but you'll learn a lot about how to please a man, smiling at Zeka. Zeka, but even if you say that, I barely, looking nervously and blushing at Zenovia. Rias, I think it's perfect. I've barely taught you the basics of making a harem, it's a good opportunity to learn. I made sure to teach you thoroughly. Zeka smiling and winking at Zeka. Iridide's captivating smile plus her wink left a slight blush on the samurai girl who mysteriously felt somewhat excited by the Iridide's words, suddenly changing her attitude. Zaka, then, I'll be in your charge to learn more, Rias smiling blushing. Nix, hey, I hate to burst your bubble, but where the heck are we going to move? Looking seriously at those present. Girls like Issei came to their senses after the reality check from the goddess of the night, who was floating calmly in the air, waiting to see if anyone had an answer. Ingvald, that's right, we had forgotten, smiling nervously. The Fae, maybe I'll talk to Oni-sama to get him to give us some territory in England, although when I explain the situation to him, he won't stop asking me questions, smiling nervously. Hiroka, what's the problem? Naya with a bored tone relaxing in her seat. They all continued thinking of various solutions to the situation until Issei, remembering something, snapped his fingers, drawing the attention of his loved ones. Issei, I got it. I know where it could be. Smiling excitedly. Asia, seriously, what kind of place is Issei-san? Looking curiously at the brunette. The excited boy began to explain the perfect place where he and his loved ones could live. The members of his harem paid close attention to Issei's words, that when he finished his explanation, they were all surprised by the idea, but also very excited. Bravo, of course I had forgotten, it's an incredible idea, Issei-sama smiling. Rias, hi, it's the best option we have, and it will also be a good opportunity to test it, but are you sure it will work? Ice. Looking curiously at Issei. Issei, I hope so, honestly, I haven't seen it for a while since I used Shin DxD, but I'm sure it will work, smiling at Rias. Bravo, in that case, I propose that we finish our business with the factions and then we will leave in the afternoon, in a calm tone. The boy, like the other members of the harem, attended Ravel's words, preparing everything necessary for his departure, but it is true that they had to close some pending matters before leaving. The first thing they did was tell her the whole situation, first to tell their friends and family about her departure from the demons. Leisha and Roygun went directly to inform their families of their resignation from their position as heiresses, although the Belphegor clan had already dismissed Roygun, but it had plans to reinstate her, they had no choice but to accept their daughter's decision, wishing her the best. The Astaroth clan was astonished by Leisha's resignation, and although there was a small conflict, Lord and Lady Astaroth decided in the end to support their daughter, hoping then at least to meet a future grandson. Blushing Leisha, but smiling at her, thanking her parents for supporting her. Ravel for her part also informed her family of her departure. Despite the enormous surprise for her parents and siblings, they decided to support her. No matter what happened, she would always be welcome in their home, although Lady Phoenix could not help but make fun of her daughter a little, hoping to see her grandchildren in the future, which made Ravel blush, getting annoyed with her mother while she laughed at her daughter for her sweet expression. On the other hand, the mass upon finding out could not believe what the council was trying to do behind their backs. Ajuka quickly understood Issei's situation, offering them her support in whatever they need, but Seraphil, upon hearing the news, the whole atmosphere suddenly began to turn icy, which worried Ajuka that Seraphil was going to do something crazy. The Mayu Leviathan had to contain her anger so as not to fly directly to the council headquarters and freeze said fight to its foundations for daring to threaten her fiancé. And Grigory, the new governor-general, Shemhazai, who obtained said position after Azazel was sealed with the Terhixa, presented his support to the decision of Issei and the girls, authorizing Penum to be absent to be with her beloved, and if they need any help or have any problem, they will always be welcome in his faction. However, Barakiel, upon finding out, had a hard time processing the fact that his daughter would leave Japan, but managed to calm down, knowing that Issei would be with her. He could only wish them both the best, where Akeno hugged her father with great affection while saying goodbye to her beloved daughter. But the Angel faction, as they could not communicate with them, only Dulio was the one who found out about the situation, although Griselda had already told him what happened at that meeting. The Joker of Heaven gave them his support, something that Zenobia took advantage of to send a few words of thanks from her to Griselda, and without hesitation, the blonde would happily communicate them to the woman, which made Zenobia extremely happy. On behalf of the gods, the new leaders of the Greek and Norse pantheons, Apollo and Vidar, gave their support to the Sekiryuutei as their beloved, offering them welcome and refuge in their factions whenever they wished. Apollo authorized Nyx's departure, although at first she did not intend to speak to the king of the Greek gods, which caused the sun god great amusement due to the proud behavior of the goddess of the night. In Asgard, Vidar also gladly gave his permission to Roswis to be able to leave with her fiancé, where she would always be welcome to her homeland whenever she wants. For the Valkyrie, it was hard to say goodbye to her senpai Brunhild, as well as her grandmother Gondel. The latter hugged her granddaughter with great force, hoping that this new trip would help her to please when she returns with a great grandson, which caused Roswis to blush just attending to her grandmother's words. Apollo also communicated the news to the Persian and Hindu god pantheons, where their leaders Shiva and Ahura Mazda supported the Sekiryuutei's decision. The only pantheons that presented their complaints were the Egyptian and Shinto gods. Both their leaders Ra and Amaterasu were opposed to the Sekiryuutei leaving, since they had plans to obtain their power for their own purposes. And although they thought about intervening in Issei's departure, they would know that this includes interfering with the pantheons that support the chestnut, a war that undoubtedly neither side wanted to have, so with frustration, they declared that the Sekiryuutei and his beloved would not be welcome in their kingdoms. But returning to other matters, Lefay returned to AdamPendragon to inform her parents of her departure. Despite the support of her father Uther, her mother Igraine still had her doubts about her daughter's decision to leave the house, but the one who finally convinced her mother was her older brother Arthur, who assured her that Lefay was old enough to make her own decisions and they could always contact her whenever they wanted. With this, her mother gave her blessing, cheering Lefay up and throwing herself at her mother, who smiled back, but unbeknownst to her, the reality was that Arthur was the most internally affected, crying in chibi form that his little Imitu was leaving, and he still did not feel ready for that moment. Suzaku for his part, returned to the Himejima temple to communicate his answer to the elders, choosing not to follow the order given to him by the enraged clan elders. Suzaku then threatened that if he did not comply with the order, they would send the execution order for Tobio Ikus and Akeno Himejima again. Although they did not expect Issei to be there accompanying her, where a single display of his power terrified the elders who, still upset with the Himejima, let her go, but with a warning that she was never to step foot on their clan territory again. With almost everything resolved, 3 important issues remained. The first was the dismissal of Irina, Gabriel and Lint from their positions in heaven, which was currently taking place. Sky. 7th floor. We are on the 7th floor where the sacred gear system resides, and apart from the god system, it was said that this sacred place was the residence of the god of the Bible when he still lived in heaven. In that place, which looked like a completely hermetic white room, the most important thing was the center of the room, where there was an enormous white battery, but whose core shone a bright golden color. That enormous machine was the god system. Those present there were Irina, Gabriel, Lint, Griselda and Raphael, the latter of whom looked seriously crossed at the group of women. Raphael, now as agreed in the agreement, Irina Hyoudou and Gabriel Nisama will be dismissed from their ranks. First it will start with the dismissal of Gabriel Nisama and the appointment of Griselda Quarta as the new seraphim, seriously looking at the aforementioned. Gabriel and Griselda were the first to take a step, walking to the sacred system where its bright light illuminated the women. Gabriel raised his right hand and concentrating a golden aura began to shine. The core of the system began to synchronize with Gabriel's aura, where then in an instant Gabriel's aura disappeared. Gabriel, it's done in a calm tone. The now ex-seraphim gave space to her friend. Griselda stood in front of the same light where, just like Gabriel, she extended her dominant hand and released her golden aura, where the system began to synchronize with her, and shortly after Griselda's aura was also gone. The nun was surprised until she saw Gabriel approach the nun, taking a bazaar out of his pocket. Griselda, congratulations Griselda-chan, please take care of them for me, okay? Smiling. The deck that Gabriel had in his hand was darkened as if all the cards had gone out. Griselda then took the deck and then saw in amazement how the cards regained their shine. Griselda, this is looking at the cards in amazement. Gabriel, when you synchronized your aura with the system, it automatically gave you access to my deck. Of course, you would have to talk to Marina-chan about this change, although I think she's already notified, right? Griselda, hi, I didn't take it very well at first, but you know this was the best option for you. Gabriel saw a small smile. Gabriel, that's great, I'm very happy. I wish I could have said goodbye to her. Small smile. The nun simply gave Gabriel a comforting hug, which he reciprocated very strongly, thanking his friend again for what she had done for her. However, the moment was cut short by Raphael, who announced that they must continue with the process. Both girls left the system, returning to their friends, who smiled at them and congratulated Griselda on her promotion. Until Raphael spoke again. Raphael, now the next step is the dismissal of Lint Selin and Irina Hyoudou from the Brave Stains, so hurry up at once. Looking seriously at the 2 girls. Irina and Lint then began walking to the system, where Lint, seeing Raphael along the way, couldn't help but give him the finger in fear with a mocking smile. The first to arrive in front of the system was Lint, while Irina was behind her. Lint then raised her arm, wrapping her body in a silver aura. The system began to change from its golden light to a silver one, synchronizing with Lint, then the glow disappeared from Lint's body. Lint, that's all. How boring, with a bored expression. The silver-haired girl walked away from the light of the core, leaving Irina alone in front of the system. She knew what she had to do, but her heartbeat began to get stronger. Memories of heaven began to run through her mind, especially of him, Michael. For the brunette, Michael was the one who helped her regain her faith after learning of the death of the biblical god. He was the one who turned her into an angel. He was the one who got her the special room she needed to start a family with her beloved Issei. And he was the one who sacrificed his life so that not only she could know him, but the whole world. Michael, that man, was the person who appreciated Irina the most. After she was sealed, she sank into a small depression that she was able to overcome thanks to Issei and Zenobia. From that moment on, Irina promised to become an archangel to make Michael proud. It's a shame that she won't be able to keep that promise. Irina raised her left hand, the symbol of an ace appeared in her hand, and then she began to release a golden aura. The system began to react, wanting to synchronize with Irina's aura. The brunette felt the sensation strange, while she synchronized with the system she could see the records that the system had. They were like memories stored inside her, where she could hear thousands of voices in her head, all of those voices were the prayers of the people who were praying to God at that moment. Irina could clearly hear every prayer of every person in the world, which saddened the brunette because she knew how heaven was now, perhaps those prayers would not be fulfilled, which she could not help but shed a few tears. This was personally noticed by Raphael, who found it curious, but did not say anything. After a few minutes both the intense glow of the core and Irina's aura diminished. Irina saw her ace mark again, which had only lost its glow. Irina, forgive me for not being able to keep my promise, Michael-sama, looking sadly at her hand. Raphael, you took too long. Didn't they teach you how to synchronize with the system? Looking at Irina seriously. Irina, of course Gabriel-sama taught me everything about the system, but I got distracted by the voices I heard there. Looking seriously at Raphael. That last comment from Irina surprised Gabriel and Raphael, which greatly surprised Lint and Griselda, who did not understand the reaction of the two angels. Gabriel, Irina-chan, you looking at Irina in amazement. Raphael, is that level of connection with the system perhaps impossible? There were only two people who managed to access the prayers of the believers, and those were only Michael and Father, so she looking seriously at Irina. Irina, is something wrong? Looking at Raphael in confusion. Raphael, it's okay, since we're done, go now before Uriel Nai-sama sees you. Looking seriously at the aforementioned. Irina, still confused, began to walk away with the other girls. They said goodbye to Griselda again, telling her that Zenobia was fine, which made the nun deeply happy. As they headed for the exit, Gabriel looked at Irina again, still surprised by the brunette's achievement, but it brought a smile to her face. Gabriel, Irina-chan, she definitely has great potential, looking at the brunette with a small smile. The three angels left heaven after a few minutes, ready to start their new life, but in the meantime, another matter related to Yusaka and Kuoh was also being handled. In Kyoto. In the sacred temple, Yusaka and Kuoh were quite calm watching the one who would now be the new Yokai queen, who, not surprisingly, was Akagi. Yusaka, I had a feeling the clan was going to choose you. I think there could have been better options. Looking calmly at her cousin. Akagi, Ara, don't be cruel. Yusaka, you were the one who resigned in the first place. You don't know the joy the clan felt when I told them you resigned. Of course there were fights between the members over who should rule, but I ended up winning the favor of the elders, and here I am, I, a member of the secondary branch, will be named queen. I will bring her the prestigious one that you took away from our clan. Mocking smile. Yusaka refused to answer the woman and only continued with the ceremony, where they both walked to a small altar where the leader of the Yokai Karasu Tengu was waiting for them with a huge pumpkin-shaped vessel. Karasu Tengu leader, as tradition dictates, this gourd attached to that altar stores the power that Yusaka Harem placed here when she was named queen to become the pillar of Kyoto and maintain the barrier between both Kyoto and now with the new queen Akagi Harem, she must place her power within the gourd to be the new pillar, calmly watching both Kyuubi. The first to pass would be the ex-queen. Taking a step forward, she walked first to the altar until she was in front of the gourd, then she raised her dominant hand and placed it on top of the vessel. At that moment an enormous amount of blue energy began to emanate from the gourd, and then it was shot towards Yusaka. The Kyuubi was enveloped in this blue aura as she drew her power from the gourd, but during the process it was seen how Yusaka's hair and tails began to turn white, causing a huge impression on Akagi and the Karasu Tengu leader. Karasu Tengu leader, is that color? Perhaps looking at Yusaka impressed. Akagi, impossible, that aura is like that of a divine beast, was she that strong? Looking annoyed at Yusaka. For her part, Kuoh was speechless seeing her mother's appearance, said form reminded her a lot of her fox dragon mode, in which her hair also turned white. She had shared this power with her mother before, but now seeing that her mother could reach such a state made her think. How powerful was her mother in her youth? After a while the blue aura disappeared from the pumpkin and Yusaka, as well as her hair and tails returned to normal, whereafter Yusaka sighed with satisfaction. The woman then withdrew from the altar and then looked at Akagi, who responded with an annoyed look to walk up to the altar and after placing his hand on top of the gourd, began to pour his power into it. This took a few minutes and then the vessel was restored, shining again with a new blue flame. Karasu Tengu leader, it's officially done. Akagi Harem is the new queen of Kyoto with a calm tone. Isaka and Kunu having already fulfilled the purpose for which they had come, they set off to leave, but not before Akagi decided to intervene. Akagi, wait a moment, Kunu-chan, are you sure you don't want to stay with me? I can teach you a lot more than your cowardly mother, smiling mockingly at Kunu. Kunu, I'm sorry Akagi dono, but I choose my haha, and I won't leave her for anything in the world, I prefer her to spending time with you or the clan members, looking seriously at Akagi. The woman then only sighed in disappointment upon hearing the Kyuubi's response. Mother and daughter then prepared to leave, but before doing so, Yasaka stopped to turn around and look at the new Yokai queen. Yasaka, Akagi, there is one more thing I would like to tell you, looking serious Akagi. Akagi, what do you want? Are you going to beg me to let them back? Mocking smile. Isaka, it's not just a warning, what you do here and now as queen doesn't interest me, but let this be clear to you and the council, if Kyoto and its inhabitants are in danger, I will not hesitate for a second to go and protect them, and if you and the council stop me, then I will face them. Looking seriously at Akagi, have a nice day. Isaka's sentence surprised those present. Akagi, for his part, was about to reprimand him, but in that moment Yasaka had left with his beloved daughter, who gave her mother a smile. After all, her mother would never stop loving her beloved Kyoto and all its people. And with this, there is finally one last pending matter that was being carried out in the underworld. Underworld. Laboratory of Ajuka. In the sophisticated and technological place of the Mayu Beelzebub are present Issei, Rias, Zenovia, Roygun and Laisha, along with the same Ajuka who looked ruefully at the aforementioned. Ajuka, I'm really sorry I can't help you with your situation, looking sadly at the group. Issei, it's okay Ajuka-sama, we know that if he did something it would cause a political conflict, and the underworld doesn't need any of that, giving a small one to Ajuka. Ajuka, likewise, you will always be welcome in my territory, and I promise I will find a way to expose the council, looking seriously at the group. Rias, we really appreciate you wanting to help us, but don't worry, we'll be fine, smiling. Ajuka smiled at the retreat in response, and then showed the group a huge but small monument made of shiny black stone. Ajuka, this is the record of the high-class devils. I know it's different from the stone monument you saw at Issei-kun's promotion ceremony, but this is a mini version of this recorder that is linked to the original hidden in Agares, showing the rock while explaining to the group. Zenovia, so what should we do? Looking curiously at Ajuka. Ajuka, just put your hand like it was in the ceremony, and the registry will erase your names from the stone as your history, thus concluding that you no longer belong to the upper class, sadly explaining to the group. The first to pass was Roygun, who placed her hand on the rock, emanating a pink aura that, like the rock, began to shine the same color, where the engraving of Roygun's hand was then shown, beginning to darken and then disappearing after a few seconds. The next was Laisha, whom Ajuka looked at with pity, but her cousin only gave her a smile, then began the process which lasted a few seconds until Laisha's engraving was completely erased. Then followed Zenovia, who before placing her hand on the rock Ajuka stopped her for a moment. Zenovia, something happening Ajuka-sama. Confused with Ajuka. Ajuka, Zenovia-san, when you were promoted I know that in your ranks you have the two demons created by Hades, Varine and Balbrith, right? Zenovia, hi, if you're worried, don't worry, they won't do anything wrong. In fact, even Balbrith threw a tantrum when I told him that Issei was leaving, haha, awkward smile. The brunette also laughed uncomfortably, remembering when his son was begging him not to leave him. Rias comforted the powerful demon by hugging him in a motherly way, telling him that Issei would never forget him and that she will always be with him, but that motherly affection generated another problem, that the demon began to see Rias as his mother, which made him sadder, begging his parents not to leave his side. There seemed to be no solution until, in a turn of events, Balbrith quickly demonstrated a mature attitude and understood that he had to become stronger so that his parents would congratulate him, so he set out on a journey in search of becoming stronger. Which ended with Issei and Rias uncomfortable with the situation. But back to reality, after remembering that awkward situation, Ajuka then continued with what he wanted to tell Zenovia. Ajuka, good, because I want to propose something to you. I will need support in case of any conflict, so I would like to ask your permission to keep them, looking seriously at Zenovia. Ajuka's proposal surprised those present, but more so Zenovia, who smiled at Ajuka's attempt. Zenovia, it's fine, I would like for them to explore their potential even further, so I accept. I will entrust Varine and Balbrith Ajuka-sama to you. Please take good care of them, smiling. Ajuka also smiled at the Durandal bearer's response. To let her pass then to the rock, the girl decisively placed her hand, releasing her aura, where then the engraving of her hand came out. The process, unlike that of Laisha and Roygun, lasted a little longer, but managed to complete erasing Zenovia's record. Zenovia, ready, that's it, turning to look at those present with a smile. Now it's Ria's turn, who had mixed feelings about what she was about to do, the memories she formed with her beloved peerage, all of that was about to be lost. She still remembers the day she got her game pieces and her big dream of becoming rating game champion to prove that she herself Rias, not Rias Gremory but Rias herself, had achieved this great merit. With pain in her heart Aridit advanced towards the rock and placed her hand on it, wrapping herself in a bright crimson aura where the engraving of Ria's hand appeared. Her print is a little smaller than her hand. This was because when Rias was named high-class devil, she was a child compared to her current self who is a full woman. The record then began to obscure Ria's imprint during that process. She still remembered each of her pieces, her first rook, which was entrusted to her by her brother after she was abandoned by her older sister after killing her former master. Her queen, who found her very weak because she was being pursued by the same members of her clan to kill her due to her hybrid blood between human and fallen angel. Her first bishop, whom she was not afraid of despite his terrifying sacred gear. His first knight, a young man who was a survivor of a macabre experiment by the church. His second bishop, who at the request of his pawn revived her after she died unjustly. His second knight, a former warrior of the church who lost her way after learning of the death of God. His second rook, a demigoddess abandoned by Odin. And finally, his cute and only pawn, a perverted boy who he saved from dying in that fountain after being killed by his girlfriend. Rias remembered every adventure she had with her peerage from the happiest to the saddest moments. She saw how her pieces grew over time until they became great demons. As a mistress she couldn't have been more proud of all of them. Finally Ria's mark ended up darkening the redeed. She only expressed one last smile before removing her hand. Issei and Zenobia understood well how the redeed felt. As servants they never regretted having become demons and having supported their king, Rias Gremory until the end. Ajuka, very well Issei-kun, you're the last one. Are you ready? Looking at Issei doubtfully. Issei, hi smiling decisively. The brown-haired boy took the first step to walk to the monument. Rias moved forward so that Issei was face to face with the rock. The boy also had mixed feelings. He always dreamed of achieving the title of high-class devil. He worked hard to achieve it and now he has to give it up. However, he didn't feel any regret. After all, he still had a more important dream that he still has to fulfill. Issei took a breath and let out a slight sigh before placing his left hand on the monument, enveloping it in a crimson aura. Memories of his high-class devil flashed through his mind. It was thanks to this title that he was able to meet Queen Ingvild, and although he was still missing pieces to complete his own ability, the boy felt happy to have given his best as a high-class devil. Issei's imprint then appeared on the monument, gradually darkening until it finally disappeared, completing the process. Ajuka, well now I need them to form a queue to finish with the last part. Looking at the quiet group. Taking the orders of the Mayu Beelzebub, the group stood in line where then Ajuka then raised his right hand and created a small green magic circle that began to envelop the group. No one was feeling any pain or effect, but then Issei and Zenobia felt a small pang in their chest, as if something inside had turned off. The Mayu Beelzebub continued with the last step for a few minutes, and then the magic circle disappeared and the green aura stopped shining on the bodies of those present. Ajuka, it's done, deactivate your evil pieces. At this point, your pieces can become free pieces. You can give them to whoever you consider to be the right ones to take care of them. In a calm tone addressing the group. Issei, don't worry about that Ajuka-sama, we already have an idea of who to give them to. Smiling. Ajuka, I see. In that case I hope to see you again in the future, please take care. Small smile. The group also expressed a smile to Ajuka in response. Before leaving Zenobia gave him the pieces of Balbrith and Varine, knowing that with the green-haired man, those two super demons will be in good hands. The rest also began to give their pieces on behalf of Roygun and Laisha. They gave their evil pieces to their families, and Rias gave Kiba and Gasper's pieces to her mother to take care of them. Venelana promised her daughter that she would do it, and then mother and daughter gave each other a last hug. The group met at the Hyoudou residence packing their things and ready to leave. Although Issei and Rias said they had one last thing to do, so they told the others to go ahead. The girls didn't understand what the couple would do, but they still decided to leave first, while the brunette and the redeed settled one last matter. Later. Hyoudou residence. The huge doors of the place were opened by a group of demons who lined up and then heard the sound of footsteps, these being those of Alicia. Alicia, this place is excellent. Lord Gremory decorated this place very well. Starting to tour the residence. As the blonde continued his tour throughout the residence, he noticed the many details it had, from the furniture, the living room, and he would even see on a shelf several picture frames with photographs of either Issei's parents, the girls with him, or the entire Hyoudou family. Eliseo, well, that's enough appreciation, it's time to give this place a new look. Snapping his fingers. Upon command, a group of maids began to enter the residence and immediately, using measuring tapes, began to request furniture and other items from the place. Excuse me, what are you doing? That voice became recognizable to Eliseo, so he turned his head watching as Issei was coming down the stairs of the place with a suitcase in his hand, having a serious expression in his gaze. Eliseo, wow Sekiryuutei, I thought you had left. It's a surprise to see you here mocking smile. Issei, I was about to leave, I was just looking for some things. Tell me, what are you doing here? Looking at Eliseo seriously. Alicia, you see, the council sent me to ensure that you and those women leave this building, and since you are no longer affiliated with the Gremory family, I plan to keep this property, and I want you to inform your parents that they will have to find another place, I don't know, under a bridge, maybe, ha 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 laughing mockingly. The brunette, ignoring the blonde's laughter, just looked around at the group of maids who were examining the place, even wanting to remove some furniture from the place. Issei, I see, but I'm sorry to tell you, but this property already has an owner. Looking calmly at Eliseo. Eliseo, ha, 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 you're funny. Do you still think this property is yours? Looking mockingly at Issei. Issei, no, but it belongs to Guru Hyoudou and Mickey Hyoudou, extending his hand, summoning a small magic circle from which a sheet of paper came out. Issei then proceeded to hand the sheet to Eliseo, who, very skeptical, began to read it, and after he finished reading it, he realized that what was written on that document is a property title. Eliseo, you left this residence to your parents. Seeing Issei surprised. Issei, that's right, and if you can see the end of the title deed, it has the Gremory family seal smiling. The blonde, in disbelief, checked the end of the document and it was indeed sealed by the symbol of the Gremory clan. Eliseo, but this is impossible, you no longer have relations with him, how could you do this? Looking at Issei annoyed. Issei, well, although the council forbade us from associating with demons, that does not allow us to summon one. Putting his right hand to take something out of his pocket. The boy then took out of his pocket a pamphlet with the Gremory family symbol that Alicia instantly recognized. Alicia, a summoning pamphlet. So you? Looking at Issei in amazement. Issei, you know, I confess that I never knew how to use these things well, so with the help of Rias channeling my power, I managed to summon a powerful demon, Zeoticus, and himself smiling. Eliseo, but if you made a contract with him you had to give him something in return, and you have nothing now. Seeing Issei annoyed. Issei, it's true, I no longer have my status or my high-class title, but I had a vast fortune as a pet of the Gremory family as an op-eye dragon, so before the council surely wanted to touch that money I made a contract with Zeoticus, and, in exchange for giving him every last gram of my fortune, I would leave this property in the name of my parents, and something else, they would have the protection of the Gremory clan, so don't even think about messing with them. Looking seriously at Eliseo. Eliseo, tch clicking his teeth, was that also part of the contract? Seeing Issei annoyed. Issei, no, it was like a last favor to his dear son-in-law, so if I were you I wouldn't touch anything before my parents arrive, or Zeoticus and would get very angry. Anyway, I have to go, they are waiting for me. Starting to walk, passing by Eliseo's side. Take care of yourself. Issei, as if nothing had happened, calmly left the doors of his residence, leaving a completely angry Alicia grinding his teeth and screaming in helplessness at this humiliation that the brown-haired man made him go through again. Unknown location. On a beautiful sunset in a meadow field, Issei and his loved ones were gathered there with their suitcases. Zeka, Edo, how much longer do you think? Looking curiously at the other girls. Tiamat, it shouldn't be long. Issei called her a few minutes ago. Ilmenhold, yes, but we've been waiting for more than 10 minutes now. Looking frustratedly at a pocket watch. Issei, don't worry, he'll be here. He just went to get some air and he's coming back. Smiling calmly. And you're really planning on leaving without at least saying goodbye? You're bad at that, Issei-kun. Hearing a voice that the entire group recognized perfectly, several magic circles appeared around where several people came out of these, among them Kiba, Gaspar, Saji, Razor, Auryu, Vali, accompanied by Arthur and Biku. Issei, guys, what are you doing here? We already told you we were leaving. Looking curiously at those present. Auryu, we know that senpai, but we wanted to at least come and say goodbye, and about how we found them was thanks to Vali, who tracked Drake's energy. Smiling. Issei, I see, although I was very surprised that you are here, I thank you anyway. Smiling. Razor, have a good trip Hyoudou, we're going to miss you. Putting his arm around Issei's shoulder. Issei, thanks for that Yaki. Razor, but you know if you break Ravel's heart, I'll burn every bone in your body. With a dark tone generating flames in his hand. Arthur, I can say the same, so you better not do anything improper to Lefay, or else. Adjusting his glasses and unsheathing his sword. Issei, oh of course, don't worry, I'll take good care of you. Getting out of Razor's grip, these two are scary because of their immature, nervous smile. Vali, by the way Hyoudou, someone also wanted to accompany us to see you. Smiling. Issei, really? And where is it? Looking around for it because I can't see it anywhere. Suddenly a blue magic circle appeared out of nowhere and a person shot out of it. Issei-chan. With a voice recognizable to Issei, that person was a beautiful female figure with black hair tied in 2 pigtails, who threw herself at the brown-haired boy. Issei, Seraphol-san. Surprised seeing the girl. Seraphol, hi the Mahu Hyoudou Leviathan Sama is here smiling and winking. The boy lowered the Mahu Leviathan who was very happy to see his beloved. Issei, I'm very surprised to see you here, are you here to say goodbye? Looking curiously at the girl. Seraphol, fire me. Have you already forgotten that we're engaged? You're cruel, Issei-chan shedding fake tears, you're very cruel, worse than Sotan when he doesn't want to watch Mahu Hyoudou with me. The brunette's lovers turned around, looking a little disapprovingly at the cruel treatment the brunette was giving the girl, which made Issei start to worry when he saw her crying. Issei, sorry, of course I knew it, for me you are very special Seraphol-san trying to calm Seraphol. Seraphol, are you serious? Seeing Issei sad. Issei, of course. You're my number one Mahu Hyoudou. There's no other Mahu Hyoudou better than you. Seraphol hearing Issei's words her mood suddenly changed and she hugged the boy again. Seraphol, I knew it. Issei-chan, I love you so much. Smiling, tightening her grip in the hug with Issei. Issei, hi, I love you too Seraphol-san trying to speak due to lack of oxygen. The Mahu Leviathan then separated from Issei again with a happy expression on her face, while the brunette caught his breath. Issei, but you still haven't answered me, why are you here? Looking curiously at Seraphol. Seraphol, isn't it obvious? I'm coming with you too snapping her fingers, making magic circles appear where her suitcases came from. Issei, blinking several times are you going with us? Surprised seeing Seraphol. Seraphol, I told Ajuka-chan 1,000 times, I don't care what you say I want to go with my Issei-chan, but Ajuka-chan told me that I couldn't, so I threw a little tantrum, saying that if she didn't let me go, I was going to freeze the Demon Council to absolute zero and let them die of cold making a cute pout. Issei, even threatening is cute, seeing Seraphol blush, but he shook his head to come back to himself, but then if I let you go that means. Seraphol, I resign from my position as Mahu Leviathan smiling. The brown-haired boy was surprised to learn that his suspicions were confirmed to be true regarding the action that Seraphol had taken. Issei, but are you sure? You leave everything behind, your family and friends, you leave a huge responsibility to Ajuka. Are you sure you're going to do this? Looking worried at Seraphol. Seraphol, of course I'm sure Issei-chan you and Sotan are my most beloved people in the world. When Sirzechs prevented me from being sealed he said to see my Imatu grow, and so I did. I attended Sotan's graduation. I even saw how she became the clan leader after Otu-sama fell into sleeping sickness. I saw how my cute Sotan grew into a great demon, and I think she no longer needs her beautiful One-sama to guide her anymore. Now I want to move on to the next part of my life, and that is to continue by your side Issei-chan hugging Issei, so please, take me with you. There was a brief moment of silence after Seraphol's words, even the girl had decided to leave everything to also go with him, she still remembers how they slept together, starting from rivals as child celebrities to being engaged, the brunette being the only one who did not reject Seraphol's childish attitude, saying that it was a very beautiful trait of hers, which was key to winning the Mahu's heart. So Issei's action was to reciprocate Seraphol's hug, being observed by those present who smiled at the cute moment until the happy couple separated from the hug. Issei, it's okay, you can come with us, Seraphol smiling. Seraphol, Issei-chan smiling. Issei, although I'm very worried about Ajuka-san taking care of the underworld alone nervous smile. Seraphol, don't worry about it Issei-chan, I wouldn't leave Ajuka-chan alone to take care of those council annoyances, so I appointed someone as the next Mahu Leviathan smiling. Issei, I'm so relieved that you wouldn't leave the responsibility to Ajuka-san, but who will be the new Mahu Leviathan? Looking curiously at Seraphol. It will be me. The voice recognizable to those present was heard in the place, and Rias knew that voice best coming from a female figure with short black hair and violet eyes wearing glasses. Rias, Sona. Surprised seeing her friend. Sona, hello Rias, I see it was hard for you to say goodbye mocking smile. The excited Riti quickly went to hug her friend, who hugged her back, sharing a pleasant moment before parting ways. Rias, I'm so glad you could come smiling. Sona, well, I was finishing some homework for my family and I couldn't stay calm without saying goodbye in person. Rias, as always, you put homework first mocking smile. Sona, there's a reason I was Kaichu of the student council for so long smiling while adjusting her glasses. Rias, but what your One-sama said is true, you looking curiously at Sona. Sona, hi, I will be the new Mahu Leviathan, although it will be official tomorrow announcing the retirement of One-sama, we do not want to give many details to the press in a calm tone. Rias, but if you become a Mahu, what about the university? Your clan? Your school? Looking curiously at Sona. Sona, about the university, I already submitted my resignation this morning because of my new duties. I will not be able to maintain my career. With my family, Akasama will be in charge of leading the clan, since he had to expel one Isama, so she could go with Issei-kun, and with respect to my school, a new director has been appointed. Smiling. Saji, that's me. Smiling excitedly. Issei, Saji. You as director. Looking at the blonde in surprise. Saji, hey, that's offensive Hyoudou, if you became a child symbol, I can be a great director. Seeing Issei somewhat annoyed. Issei, I'm sorry, it's just that I was surprised. Smiling nervously, scratching his head. Saji, but I'm not the only one who's going to be the director, the rest of Sona's nobility claim to be the teachers, so I'm asking you to take care of Benia. Smiling and giving a thumbs up. Issei, I don't think I would worry too much about her. Nervous smile, remembering how terrifying the Grim Reaper was. Saji, I also have another piece of news, I'm engaged to Sona. Smiling. Issei, huh? Really? Congratulations. Smiling. Saji, ha ha ha, thanks, it was difficult, but I finally won Serafal when he's approval. Serafal, Saji-chan, you remember what I said if you call me that, right? Smiling but releasing an icy aura. Saji. Hi, Serafal. Sama nervous smile. Issei, I see that he still doesn't like you, right? Mocking smile. Saji, the truth is that Serafal Sama threatened me that if something were to happen to her dear Sotan, she would castrate me. Trembling with fear. The boy turned around, seeing the adorable Serafal, who had a cute knife made of ice, while still showing that happy smile. Issei, I agree with Saji, it's very scary when it's Sona, also trembling a little scared. Sona, by the way, Rias, your cousin wanted to accompany us to say goodbye to you. Seeing Rias calm. Rias, cousin. Looking at Sona confused. At that moment, footsteps were heard, revealing a beautiful young woman with a voluptuous figure, violet-rimmed eyes, long crimson hair tied in two pigtails, and a small crown on her head. The young woman walked up to stand in front of Rias, examining every detail of her body, while Rias reacted with surprise, knowing who this girl was. Oh, I see that Rias-chan hasn't changed much, your breasts are still the same size, or have they grown bigger? Well, it doesn't matter, I must admit that you are the culmination of beauty of my lineage, my masterpiece. Playful smile. Sona didn't understand much of what this girl was saying. She kept saying things like my lineage, my offspring, thinking that this cousin of Rias was really strange. And on Rias' side, she quickly took the girl away from Sona and took her to a more private place to talk. Hey, if you're going to take me to the dark, buy me a good wine. Rias, Founder Sama, what are you doing here? Looking at the girl nervously. Hey, don't call me Founder Sama, you'll make me feel old. I'll only let your Akasama call me that, and since I like you, you can call me Rias or Rias. Sama relaxed smile. That's right, this girl turns out to be the founder of the Gremory clan, Rias Gremory, whom Rias already had the opportunity to meet when she touched on that tradition of her family, which was to entertain the founder of the clan when she wakes up. Rias, it's okay Rias Sama, now tell me what the hell are you doing here? Don't you know you have to keep pretending you're dead? Looking at Rias worried. Rias, don't worry about it, so many centuries have passed that the demons already think I'm a legend, so I can walk around freely. Carefree smile. Rias, but what you did was still very dangerous. I ask you to remember your position. Besides, you still haven't answered me. What are you doing here? Rias, what am I doing here? Well, I'm putting his finger to his chin to think I forgot. Looking at Rias unconcerned. Rias, are you serious? Seeing Rias worried. Rias, ah, that's right. I remembered hitting his fist with his palm and then looking at Rias. I'll go with you. Rias, what? Go with us? What are you talking about? Looking at Rias in confusion. Rias, it was a contract that Zeo-chan made with me, in his words he said to me, well he asked me on his knees coughing a little, please Rias-sama, I ask you, I want you to help my daughter become stronger, I will do anything you ask me, those were his words in a calm tone. Rias, now I feel so sorry for Otu-sama, awkward smile, and what did he ask for in return? Looking curiously at Rias. Rias, he that on the next Founder Sama's entertainment day, he'll have to wear a cute sailor suit, like when he was a kid, and sing me nursery rhymes while Chisis records it, Yufufu I'm already dying, seeing Zeo-chan's embarrassed face. Evil smile. Rias could only look at Rias with fear, not wanting to imagine her father in that uncomfortable costume, while her grandmother would be drooling at the mouth, enjoying every second of her Zeo-tan with that costume. Only one thought came to mind. Rias, the founder of the clan is really terrifying, looking at Rias nervously. Rias, but in exchange for that he told me to help you become stronger, so pointing at Rias Rias Gremory, will help you Rias-chan to make the most powerful Gremory that exists, you can feel flattered. Proud smile. Rias, stronger? But Ani-sama was the strongest in the clan, he didn't believe that Rias, you are not seeing the incredible hidden potential that you have, Rias-chan. Unlike all my descendants, you have something unique, and with my help, you will be able to match or surpass your Ani-san. Looking calmly at Rias. Iridide opened her eyes in surprise at Runia's words. Although she was never interested in being stronger than her Ani-sama, what the founder of the Gremory clan said left her with that possibility in her mind. Rias, being on the same level as Ani-sama. Rias, not only will I teach you to be stronger, I will also train you to become a harem queen. Proud smile. Rias, harem queen. Looking at Rias confused. Rias, listen to me well, Rias-chan. Throughout my life I was the most lustful demon in my time. I had my own harem of which I led. There was no man or woman who could not resist me in bed. My husbands and wives begged me to buck them. For years I tried to make my offspring follow my legacy, but they all came out very virgin generation. Your grandmother is my own daughter, can you believe it? But you points to Rias are perfect. Just look at your voluptuous body, seductive gaze, you remind me of me when I was your age, and it is clear that you already have Issei-chan and the other women under control. You just need to polish a few things, but do not worry, with my help, I will make you a harem queen. You will have that hexy dragon begging to be bucked. That said, I hope the best of you, winking with a seductive smile. Iridide just remained silent, but part of her felt somewhat excited to receive classes from the founder of her family, and on the other hand, she had several questions with everything Rias told her, but she could only express a giggle and then smile at him. Rias, okay, I'm counting on you then, Rias-sama smiling. Returning to Issei, he continued talking to his friends as did the rest of his loved ones, until Rias approached him along with Rias. Rias, Edo, I have to tell you something. Awkward smile. Issei, HMMP. What's wrong, Rias? Did something happen? Glancing at Rias, Your Rias quickly covered his mouth. Rias, why yes, Ice, my cousin Theresia Gremory is going to accompany us too, since she would like to know the world. Nervous smile. Issei quickly understood the situation, and although he had questions to ask, he had to go along with Rias, so the boy assisted Rias to release her hand from her mouth and then looked at Theresia. Issei, I see, then it will be a pleasure for you to join us, Edo. Theresia-san nervous smile. Rias, Yufufu, the pleasure is mine. Issei-chan, it's been a while since we last saw each other. I hope to see many things from you. Playful smile. The boy just smiled nervously as Rias took Rias to introduce them to the rest of the harem, while Issei went straight to talk to Vali. Vali, then you will leave, Hyoudou Issei smiling at Issei. Issei, I'm sorry Vali, but it seems we won't be able to have our battle after all. Small smile. Vali, this trip you're going to take is okay. I imagine you're planning to get stronger, right? Issei, of course. I'll keep training, I'm going to get stronger to face future threats that may come. Smiling excitedly. Vali, okay then I'll do the same, I'll get stronger and one day we'll have our battle. Smiling and extending his fist. Issei, take it for granted, bumping his fist with Vali's. Inside both young men there were two dragons which could be seen face to face. Greg, it seems that our dispute will have to be postponed further. In Albion, we do have problematic carriers. Albion, I say the same, but I hope yours takes advantage to get stronger, don't you dare disappoint me. Greg, I can say the same about yours. Smiling defiantly. Returning to Issei and Vali, they had already separated their fists, where both rivals smiled at each other one last time before the brunette left and went to say goodbye to the last two people, Kiba and Gasper. Kiba, so, this is goodbye, right? Looking at Issei with a small smile. Issei, don't take it like that Kiba, it will be like a vacation or like the honeymoon that the girls and I plan to have. Smiling. Gasper, senpai, I am going to miss him a lot. Shedding some tears. Issei, come on Gasper, don't cry, I already told you men like that don't cry. Smiling at Gasper. The little daywalker just wiped his tears as he watched, assisting his senpai. Gasper, hi. I promise a lot, Issei senpai. I'm going to become a real man. Looking seriously at Issei. Issei, good. That's the spirit. Smiling. Kiba, you two never change. Smiling and then looking at Issei, by the way Issei-kun, why are you here? I thought you would go through transportation circles. Looking curiously at Issei. Issei, well, you see, since we don't have a place to live, the girls and I will live on a property that I own. Smiling at the blonde. Kiba, but wasn't the council supposed to take away all your properties? Looking curiously at the brown-haired boy. Issei, it's true, but there's a place that the council couldn't get rid of, and I think it comes here. Smiling, looking at the sky. And at that moment the sky began to darken as a giant shadow began to appear in the sky, and then a strong breeze whipped across the entire field, moving the leaves of the field and the treetops. Those present watched as that shadow began to appear, becoming an enormous aircraft with the appearance of a crimson Viking ship, adorned with a dragon design on the bow. Iku, oh that thing is huge. Seeing the huge giant ship. Gasper, Sugoi, that's it. Smiling excitedly. Issei, that's my familiar, Hyoudou smiling at his huge familiar. The huge ship stopped next to where the people were, remaining in the air. Are you? Incredible, it's bigger than last time looking at the ship in amazement. Issei, yes, when I let him out of the jar he ran away, but according to Office, it was because he was growing, and now I can't keep him in his jar anymore nervous smile. Then the huge ship released a long staircase that reached the ground. Longinus, it's a high-tech aircraft, and it still deploys a filthy ladder seeing the ladder frustrated. Roswis, hey, it's a legendary ship from my lands, you shouldn't insult it like that seeing something bothers Longinus. Nix, and that's why you are barbarians who are very outdated from the current times sighing disappointed. Roswis, the one from the incestuous pantheon spoke looking seriously at Nix. Nix, do you want trouble, stinky demigoddess? Seeing Roswis annoyed while confronting her. Roswis, who are you calling a stinky demigoddess? Bakamigami. Angrily facing Nix. Zeka, hey, stop fighting and get in now, the line is already forming looking at both girls neutrally. It was then that the girls began to climb the ladder one by one to head to the ship. Issei for his part looked at his friends to smile at them. Issei, I guess I should go, I'm really glad to have seen you all one last time smiling at his friends to turn around and start walking. Wait, Lilith wants to go too. The boy stopped when he heard the voice of Office's little half. It was true Lilith also knew about Issei's plan to leave with the girls in Hyoudou, but they didn't know how to talk to the little girl, so she would stay in Kuoh. Issei then turned around and saw little Lilith running through the crowd and hugging the brown-haired boy's leg. Issei, Lilith looking at the little girl in amazement. Lilith, please let Lilith go with you, I don't want to be far from you, Kunu-chan and Wani-sama, they are my family hugging Issei's leg tightly. Issei, Lilith separating from the little girl to bend down and get to her level. Listen, where we're going is not anywhere, it might be very boring, and in Kuoh you'll still have school, and my parents could take good care of you small smile. Lilith, although all that sounds good, Lilith doesn't want to leave you, she wants to accompany you. I promise to help with whatever is needed looking decisively at Issei. Issei, damn well awkward smile. Issei is fine let her come with us. The duo turned around seeing a person who was Office who was in her adult form. Lilith, Wani-sama looking at her twin in amazement. Office, listen, Lilith, if you really want to come with us, I'm warning you that you won't be able to see the people you interacted with. Are you okay with that? Looking calmly at Lilith. Lilith, well Lilith loves Issei's parents, but Lilith would also like to be stronger to protect them like you or Wani-sama, so if I go, would you help Lilith? Looking at Office embarrassed. Office, it's a pain to be a teacher, but I have no choice as your Wani-sama, I must help you believe I will giving her a thumbs up. The little girl smiled so much that she ran straight to hug Office. Lilith, thank you very much Office Wani-sama smiling. Office, that's right, I'm your great Wani-sama, praise me like that smiling proudly. Lilith, but you told Lilith to call you Wani-sama because since Issei released the Shin DxD your body also grew Wani-sama, I still don't know what that word means seeing Lilith innocent. Office, adult things Lilith let's go holding her twin's hand. The little girl with a smile took her older twin's hand to go to Hyoudou stairs, leaving Issei with an uncomfortable expression. Issei, now 3 more guests join, I hope this doesn't cause any problems, nervous smile. Rias, Ice, we're leaving now. Getting the brown-haired boy's attention. Issei, huh? Blinking several times sure, give me a moment. Turning around to see Kiba and Gasper, at whom he smiled I'm really sorry I don't have more time to continue chatting. Kiba, okay, we wish you luck Issei-kun small smile. Gasper, that's right senpai, I hope he gets stronger smiling at Issei. Issei, I also expect it from you too, become stronger, remember we are the 3 men of the Gremory group, let's not disappoint Rias extending his fist. Kiba, of course, as a gentleman, I'm not going to throw away all the effort that Rias Wani-sama put into me that day. Gasper, I'm also going to become a man that both of you will be very proud of. The 2 boys joined their fists with Issei's, colliding them, sealing a promise between the 3 men of the Gremory group. Issei, well then removing his fist and starting to walk towards Hyoudou goodbye. Starting his walk, the boy walked away from his friends with a happy smile at having been able to say goodbye. Kiba, Issei-kun one more question. Issei, stopping a few steps what's wrong? Kiba, if the underworld or the shares were to be in serious danger again, wouldn't you go and save it? Issei thought a lot about Kiba's question, but then smiled a wide smile. Issei, you already know Kiba, I am the heroic Eye Dragon, if it is not only the underworld, the world was in danger, do not doubt it, I will protect it smiling. That answer satisfied Kiba who smiled at his friend, Issei expressed the same smile and response before walking to head to the ship. Finally waiting by the stairs was Rias, both smiled at each other, and first Rias began to climb, and then Issei followed. He took a last look at all his friends saying goodbye to him, and then went up the stairs directly to the ship. Once the chestnut finished climbing the ladder, he retracted, and the ship began to move away at maximum speed away from the place, while those present watched as the ship moved away from their side in the sky. "Dibba, have a good trip," Issei-kun, smiling watching the ship move away. Within seconds the ship was lost from the sight of those present, and so with that farewell, the Sekiryuutei and his loved ones had begun a new life. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.